या रोग नेशन वाला टॉम क्रूज?
जो भी है, मतलब आप कहाँ से, आप कूदना चाहते हो या मोटर बाइक चलाना चाहते हो या क्या करना चाहते हो,
मेरे पास
या
लाइसेंस नहीं है,
डूबना चाहते
कूदना
हो?
कूदना पसंद करूंगा मैं।
हाँ, कूदना।
कूदना पसंद करूंगा।
कहाँ से कूदना है सर आपको?
यहीं से कूद जाता हूँ, 29वें माले पर
अच्छा।
रहता हूँ मैं।
हाँ।
So,
मेथड टॉम क्रूजिंग।
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's the Daniel Day-Lewis of action filmmaking, essentially, right?
What?
Yeah. What else?
आई एम नॉट सेइंग एनीथिंग।
Anyways, I think this is a
इतनी
good code.
तौहीन की है डैनियल डे लुइस की एक
Acha.
कमेंट के साथ।
Listen, Amartya compared Deepika Padukone and Vivek Oberoi yesterday. Okay, this isn't as bad.
टू
Vivek Oberoi and Deepika Padukone.
आई मीन दैट्स स्टिल देयर एट लीस्ट इन द सेम सॉर्ट ऑफ, देयर एट लीस्ट इन लाइक द vicinity of one another, like they live in the same 5 square kilometers or whatever.
Haven't Daniel Day-Lewis and Tom Cruise acted in one thing together, or no?
Have they?
I
I'm
don't think
asking.
so.
No, I don't think
I
so
think they just
either.
share PTA, I suppose.
Hmm.
I mean, now though that also is not there, right? Because
Right?
PTA made a movie taking down Scientology.
It's not taking down Scientology, though.
I mean, do you think Tom Cruise understands that?
That's not like, I don't think it's like he asked Tom Cruise's permission,
I
but I
don't
don't
think
think
he.
it's not just a straightforward takedown of Scientology, though.
It
So yeah.
doesn't need to be, right?
Hmm.
Tana enough for a Scientologist, a fictional sort of belief system.
Listen, Philip Seymour Hoffman is a
Great LRH.
charismatic leader. I will follow him to his
I will
church.
I will send you the clip of Tom Cruise saluting Ron Hubbard's painting. Okay, it's hilarious. It's like it's a throwback to. Have you seen that 9 minute clip of him talking about what a Scientologist does when they pass an
I'm not,
absolute
I
scene?
don't want any
Oh
other
my God!
forces to affect me. Okay, I have enough of a. I only know Tom Cruise mainly as Ethan Hunt, and then that essentially toxic character in Magnolia and Les
Hmm.
Grossman in Tropic Thunder. That's my memory of him. Eyes Wide Shut, I always pretend to forget because I don't like him in it. So that's about
Not
it.
Valkyrie. You don't like him in
I've
Valkyrie?
not seen Valkyrie. I don't like Top Gun. So neither Top Gun I like. So I mean,
You don't like
I
Maverick
actually am the
also.
one who likes Top Gun more than Maverick. So whatever you want to
You
say.
are truly a rarity.
I No, that's not true. People who like the cheesiness of the first one, I think, have struggled with the
Overt
seriousness
emotionality of the
Hmm.
of
sequel.
the new one. Yeah. Anyways,
But Top Gun is not what we're here to talk about, so Dhruv, please light the fuse.
thank you, Varun. Unlike the last episode which we have recorded, Maverick will not be discussed as extensively. Maybe next episode it will be because it's sort of, I think, matches in terms of its tonality, somewhat to Maverick. But anyways, hello, hello, hello. I don't know if you're happy to hear my voice or eternally disappointed to hear that I have returned to moderate this episode. It's more out of necessity as opposed to, choice.
You're basically the
Because
Henry Cherney of this episode.
what does that mean? I have no
He
idea what
returned
you
he
mean.
returned in part 7 of Mission Impossible out of necessity because they ran out of people to cast as CIA directors.
Ah, okay. I mean, but he earned money for it. I'm not earning money for this. I'm just losing sanity, which,
You've
I
not
mean,
monetized the
बचा क्या?
podcast, that's not our problem.
सर मोनेटाइज करने के लिए व्यूअर्स लिसनरशिप चाहिए होती है, मिनिमम उतनी नहीं पहुंची है, इसलिए नहीं किया मोनेटाइज। कोई शौक नहीं है फ्री में धंधा करने का मुझे। एनीवेज,
फ्री में धंधा करने का साउंड सो रॉन्ग ध्रुव, साउंड सो रॉन्ग ध्रुव।
ऑफ टू
कृष्णा गोयल का के बदलने वाला है,
अच्छा, ओके। आई
कृष्ण से
थॉट टू गो
कमाटीपुरा।
anyways before we go into places where we probably shouldn't, both literally and metaphorically. I think we
Hey, speak
can.
for yourself. I think sex work is an honorable profession and those who practice it deserve to be respected.
I was talking about us going to those places to. But anyways, I think you know what the tone has been set by Varun as usual about this episode. So I guess Chris is trying not to fall off his chair, I
I
think.
promised myself that I'd keep a straight face when Dhruv says free mein dhanda in like the first 5 minutes.
Anyways, Chris's
Bhansali,
credit
if you're
on
looking to
this.
make Ganga Bhai Kathiawadi.
Okay, Chris, best of luck editing this, but so you have to listen to it twice, which basically means you're not going to survive. You're not going to come out like alive from this. Essentially,
I'm
you're
getting
unless
used
you're
to it.
Ethan Hunt, of course. Which I mean, you don't want
He
to be
survives.
Ethan Hunt.
He
You want
he
to
I
be
don't
with
survives
want to
like
be
a
Ethan.
he
with
survives
Ethan.
like a massive fall in a multi-level car park in the movie we're going to discuss. So
Yep.
it's like
I mean,
tough to
see,
beat that.
he is indestructible, and so are I think. And this is I can't believe I'm transitioning like this, but this is probably the best part of the Mission Impossible franchise. I think we are discussing like the ones which at least are, I think, are all three of our favorites in different
Hmm.
order,
Hmm.
like which one is the best and all that. But I think these are the ones. The films which we are going to be talking about, the Mission Impossible films, are essentially Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout, which is 4, 5, and 6. Good job on them to deviate from the 1, 2, 3 and find different words. I don't know what it
Yeah.
means. I was just
I
making
mean,
notes
what would you
referring
call
to
Mission Impossible 2? Mission Impossible and
Pigeon.
check who's under the mask.
I don't know. Uh,
That is the central conceit
who?
of that movie.
I don't know. I don't know.
What was the third one? Mission Impossible and
Rabbit's
Brain
foot.
Freeze.
Come on, that's rabbit's foot. That's got an easy tag.
Also Brain Freeze,
Why?
because I mean the
I don't
exploding
remember the
thing that
movie. I only
Philip Seymour
remember.
Hoffman keeps putting into people's noses or heads or
I just
whatever.
remember Philip Seymour
उसको
Hoffman
फ्रीज नहीं
shouting.
फ्राई करते हैं ना सर.
No, you have to fry the thing inside the head,
Okay,
हाँ.
okay, fine.
That's
Whatever we
we are
have to
not
do, we are not
discussing the
doing here.
technicalities of
We
Mission
are we are
Impossible.
either we are both freezing and frying the listener's brain here, so we shall not proceed more on this line. We shall dive directly or leap or whatever you want to say, whatever
Fly,
Cruise likes. Hang, I don't know, hang on to
hang.
hang on to the
Hang off
ledge,
of.
hang
Okay, yeah.
off Ghost Protocol, which is Mission Impossible 4.
The president has initiated Ghost Protocol. The entire IMF has been disavowed. Now I've been ordered to take you to Washington, where they will hang the Kremlin bombing on you and your team, unless you were to escape after assaulting Brandt and me. But if any one of your team is caught, they will be branded terrorists out to incite global nuclear war.
So what happens now?
Which is directed by Mr. Brad Bird, who is the director of The Incredibles and The
Incredibles.
Incredibles 2. I think fairly known to be, at least the first one is one of the best Pixar movies according to a lot of people. I think, or a lot of people's favorite at least. Then he made Tomorrowland, which I think no one liked except for him, maybe, and George Clooney. I think he's in it. And I don't know what else he's made actually. But anyways, Brad Bird's first live action film, right? This is.
Hmm.
The writers of this are Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec. And the cast includes the one and only Mr. Tom Cruise.
I thought that was going to be a classic flip. I thought you were going to be like one and only Anil Kapoor.
I was building up to it, but yeah, I probably should have done that actually. Uh, no, I think it's one and only Tom Cruise because he's the thing that holds this all together until Christopher McQuarrie comes in, which is sort of in here, but then properly in the next film we are going to discuss. And yeah, anyways, Tom Cruise, Paula Patton, who never returns or is mentioned even in any of the other films for some
I
reason.
mean, Rebecca Ferguson is and Michelle Monaghan are the first recurring female characters in the
In
franchise.
the series.
Sure.
Before
Michelle
that,
Monaghan's the first one, right? She's there in 3
yeah,
and
yeah.
4. She has that
Four,
brief
she's there
appearance.
in like blink and miss kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Paula Patton, Jeremy Renner, who's in this and Rogue Nation, Simon Pegg, a very extended role for Simon Pegg, which is something I'm going to talk about more, which is one of the reasons why I like this movie so much, these two of them.
Yeah.
I have written Ving Rhames, but then I cut it out because he's not in this film.
He is in the last
He's
scene
there.
again.
Is he in the he's the one who brings in Michelle Monaghan?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of.
Yes, right. Okay. Then I think our favorite, no, not our favorite, but I think Chris's favorite performance of last year in a brief role is in this Léa Seydoux
Yes.
as the
Yeah.
French assassin witch
Assassin.
lady, which is the
Yes.
thing which I remember her for most roles until I saw her in like other things in which she's amazing. Not which doesn't include Spectre because or whatever that James Bond latter films are because she's not good in
Did you
them
just
in
call
my
him
opinion.
James Bond?
No, I called him James Bond.
I don't know. She was also in No Time to Die, the
Yeah.
one, the
Yeah,
follow-up of
which
that.
probably one of the not better, better
It's
than
not.
Spectre,
It's the
which is
middle.
a
It's
very
the
low
middle.
bar,
Yeah.
I think. But anyways,
Better than Quantum
uh,
of Solace also.
I don't agree. But
Again,
anyways,
low bar.
Neither do
Again,
I.
low bar.
I think Quantum Solace is a better film. But
I
anyways,
mean, Quantum of
uh,
Solace is a great way to kill a villain. Tell him to drink petrol. But it has little
I
to
think Quantum
recommend.
Solace is good. But you don't like janky camera work. I like the kineticism of that. But
I
anyways,
think it's again going on the fly, like we will discuss in the
sure.
episode after
Anyways,
this.
you're breaking my flow, Varun, because I was about to say, and the one and only Mr. Jackass, right?
Jhakas
Uh,
Kapoor.
Jackass Kapoor, yes. I think, yes, just off his Slumdog Millionaire Oscar win, I think, right?
And
With along with a lot
of
of
his Slumdog Millionaire Oscar win is
that's
stretching
how
it a
he will
bit.
describe it. Okay, that's how he will describe it. So that has to be mentioned.
Slumdog
Anyways, so
Millionaire
yes,
is of course directed by a mutual favorite of Cris and Dhruv's, Danny Doyle.
ये सब तुम्हारी वजह से हुआ है आज उसकी जगह मैं हॉलीवुड में होता मैं अगर तूने मुझे डैनी डॉयल के फोन के बारे में बताया होता
मुझे कैसे पता होता कि वो डॉयल हॉलीवुड का डैनी है वो पिंच डैनी डैनी कुछ कर रहा था मुझे लगा डैनी डेंजम्पा होगा मैंने भगा दिया उसे
yes, our
No, but this is
favorite.
actually more importantly, this is Anil Kapoor being cast because of appearing in Kiefer Sutherland's 24.
Oh, is it? Okay.
In which he played like I think a West Asian country's president. Some
Okay. I
random
think the only bad
AI-generated
memory
name
of
guy.
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol I have is that it does that very westernized version of Indian music, which drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh, I
Yeah,
hated
yeah.
that. I remember that, and that's the only thing I think is like one of the only things that remains like a memory of a false note in that film because
also
I was
just
just
how
like,
bafflingly badly India is depicted because the hotel is clearly
India's
somewhere
barely in it. Like it's
in
it's
Dubai.
barely
I mean, it's
shot in
Montreal.
India.
It's
Yeah.
Montreal, sure,
Yeah,
but like
is it just
Montreal or
only the
Vancouver.
exterior shot होएगा airport
Yeah,
का?
yeah, yeah. No, not the airport. The Bombay.
Bombay, yeah,
BP,
they had to
BP
chase through. I was
station
like, इतनी
and
भीड़
BMC.
यहाँ पे
Yeah.
कैसे जाएंगे? यहाँ पे तो it doesn't.
And
It takes like 2 hours to move from one, like one place to
No, but
another.
also it's
as we
you're driving through
experienced
VT
during
station.
Mami.
Sorry,
No, but
yeah,
it's
okay,
driving through VT station, but then the car park outside is all in
In Kannada.
in Kannada, yeah. So
Oh, nice.
And they're going into a Sun TV satellite office, which is Tamil television. So it's
But I think that should give you a good indication of actually the I would say the delightful senselessness of Mission
Yeah.
Impossible.
yeah.
And this is extra
I
committed
mean, yeah, this is
in, I
a
think,
film in
Ghost
which the
Protocol.
Kremlin blows up. So
Yes.
let's not
Exactly.
take it too seriously.
And I still remember like this the whole Kremlin set piece has so many great visual gags with Simon
Oh,
Pegg
yeah.
and Tom Cruise because he's using that technology
Yeah.
thing and
Projection,
how
yeah.
exactly and then whatever happens there. So again, it's
I love
very
the way Peg goes Igorov at the guard when they're
like he
entering the
tries to do a
building.
Russian accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so yes, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, guys. Chris, I will begin with you because you've been quiet, silently laughing, I suppose, at whatever bullshit.
I don't know what I can possibly say with whatever you two have going on, but sure. I mean, this is the film that I am probably most nostalgic for because it was, like I mentioned in the previous episode, a comfort film of mine. and it's got so many elements of it that I adore. But also, I think for me, most importantly, it brings a certain goofiness into Mission Impossible, which I think tonally just works so
Which was
wonderfully.
totally absent from three, right? From just correct me, just
Oh God,
recap
yeah,
for me because I listened to bits and pieces of our train
yeah,
wreck before this that you guys had recorded. So I wanted to ask you, like, can you
yeah.
run me through quickly one, two, like the tonality actually of one, two, and three. And I know that one has a playful energy to it just because the
Yeah, yeah.
Brian De Palma is playfully sleazy in everything, in my
Yeah,
opinion. So yeah.
absolutely. One has got a bit of a playfulness to it. Two is essentially Dhoom, but Hollywood version.
Yes.
Full with
Cue clip
hairstyle and
for Dhruv, of
everything.
course, Chris.
With hairstyle.
Cue clip for yes.
Dhoom, yes. And then three goes into this very self-serious, very like doomerish sort of setting.
And it's
And
got
then
that really who's the DOP for three? Is it Anthony Dodd Mantle or no? Can you
No,
check?
wait, I'll
I'm
pull that
not.
up.
I'm confused because I remember it being very like gritty and it's got that.
It's
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
got that Paul Greengrass
हाँ
problem.
हाँ हाँ
Dan
हाँ.
Mindel. Dan
मतलब
Mindel
वो
is the
camera
DOP.
shake, like I think he hits the camera essentially to make it shake.
Also, it's
Right?
like
Yeah.
it's extremely saturated,
हाँ.
going
Yeah.
Lens
very
flare से तो
hard
भरी
for
पड़ी
that.
होगी. So
No,
The
but
yeah.
lens
color
flares
grade
were
is
more
wild on that film.
हाँ हाँ.
more. I think lens flares were more common. J.J. Abrams is also from the Spielberg school, which
Hmm.
is very much the Janusz Kaminski school of
The
hard
lighting being
backlight.
natural.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's. I mean, I'm just coming off of War of the Worlds and Minority Report, and I'm like, Janusz, please stop
And
with the
Varun
backlight.
is the biggest Spielberg fan we have. So
Yeah, I'm like
Hmm.
Jaws turns 50 on the 20th of June. I'm
Sir,
hoping they
Jaws का
play it
fan
in
तो
a
मैं भी
theater.
बहुत बड़ा हूँ. And
I
I'm
am
also
a
actually a
massive
fairly
Spielberg fan.
I'm a big
Yeah.
Spielberg fan too. I'm not as committed to him as you are. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just checking what else this guy's shot.
Okay, so it's
Dan
not
Mindel.
Anthony Dodd Mantle because the camera
No,
was
but
looks like that, which is Danny Boyle cinematographer.
actually, so Dan Mindel has done a bit of work with Tony Scott before he shot
Okay. So
Hmm.
if you've
Mission
seen that, then you
Impossible.
sort of get the
Yeah.
vibe of it.
Also worked
Yeah.
with Ben Stiller on Zoolander 2.
Interesting. Anyways, Chris, yeah, we
Yeah.
arrive at
Yeah.
Ghost Protocol though with a different sort of
Yeah, and
vibe.
the disclaimer that I have to give before we begin is if you were annoyed of me talking about how pretty Tom Cruise looks in the last episode, it only gets worse from
Gets
here.
worse, yeah.
So it just I think from the very opening of the film, and I think like the pre-credit scene of Ghost Protocol is probably one of my favorites in the series.
Mhm.
It just
Yeah.
got such a fun tonality to it that it makes it for a really fun film while also having the sort of stakes and whatever necessary
The
for like
Jeremy
a
Renner
Mission
character sort
Impossible.
of brings in the level-headedness, right? I think he and Paula Patton a little bit,
Paula
but
Patton a
those
little bit,
A
yeah.
those
little
two
more,
are the
yeah,
only
yeah.
ones who are sort of like the serious sort of people
Yeah.
holding it back. Ethan is a
Also,
lunatic in this. Let me just
also
Which I
it
love,
gives you a
yeah.
good idea of how perception of Mission Impossible has sort of changed.
yeah.
Hmm.
In that Jeremy Renner's character, William Brandt, who's supposed to be an analyst,
Hmm.
is so self-serious and wants to be methodical and stuff.
Hmm.
And he's almost reacting from a space of sort of an emotional conundrum
Mhm.
over things. And you're like, get with the game over here, dude.
Yeah.
And the frustrations one has with Brandt in this movie get transferred to Ethan by the end of the franchise.
Yeah. So it's very interesting actually. Yeah, that's a great
Insane
point. And I think
range.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think you get actually now that I'm thinking, well, I've not rewatched them in a while, so this is all memory. Whatever I'll blabber is from memory. You guys can correct me.
Yeah.
I'm anyways wrong
Yeah.
when I watch stuff. So अब नहीं देखी
You
है तो
can't
double
you
chance
can't be
होता.
more
Exactly.
wrong than Hemant was, all right? He was just
Fair.
randomly distributing misinformation.
No, but I think that's the four-car team, right? That's the
Yeah.
Ethan, then there's Paula Patton, and then Jeremy Renner and Simon Pegg, and you get Pegg and Cruise on one side, essentially doing
Yeah.
the sort of mad stuff, essentially, and sort of being excited by that mad stuff also. Right? I
Absolutely,
remember
yeah.
that's the whole Simon Pegg thing, which I remember, where it's like he really wants to get into all this. Like whatever
Yeah.
crazy stuff is going on, so like the
Yeah.
masks and everything, and then these two are like, are you guys serious? It's the butting against of those opposites which sort of worked in that. But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, so for me, I think that is what works the best for Ghost Protocol. Apart from that, also some of the best set pieces in all of the series. Again, looking at the Burj Khalifa sequence in particular,
Yeah.
I think it's just like, again, we talk about Brad Bird, but the thing is, it's so inventive with what it does, and it's
Hmm.
also so consistently funny that I think, while I don't know if I would say it's the best in the series, it's
Hmm.
definitely my favorite, and the
Sure.
one that I've gone back to the most. I think.
Yeah, and I think the first I remember, and Varun, you please go after this. I
Yeah.
remember the first impression of me was it peaks too early, in the sense that the Burj Khalifa sequence happens, and then you have to go through, you know, a
The
relatively
rigmarole of
weaker.
meeting Jhakas.
I don't mind. Jhakas is, I think, playing the best sort of tonality you want for this movie. I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
he's very easy to make fun of because he's playing like a total caricatured buffoon, but I think I would, we've gone through a few fair things now in the Mission Impossible series, and I'd say
Yeah.
that I would welcome that nonsensicalness much more than whatever else comes later on. Anyways,
Yeah.
my no, from my impression was that the final action sequence is weaker, but then the more I remember Ghost Protocol, I actually really like just how Looney Tune-ish or whatever
Absolutely.
the car park sequences, because it's not like a tried and tested car park where they're fighting. It's like using the location so well in terms of how they're sort of going up and down based on the way they are falling and everything, and it really like highlights Brad Bird's sort of animated background. Actually, it really infuses that sort of comic sensibility to it, which I think
Hmm.
even is missing in the Brian De Palma version from me. I mean, I don't like the Wu
Yeah.
version. I remember not minding the Abrams version, but it of course is very different tonally from this, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the more I think about the whole franchise, the more I think I love Ghost Protocol the most in some ways, even though I do really like the two films that come after this. So,
After.
Yeah.
anyways, Varun, बोलो मिस्टर
Um,
झकास के बारे में आप.
no, I like the way both you and Chris highlighted the animation background that Brad Bird is obviously coming from. Because in animation, there's no limits, right? You're essentially either hand drawing all this stuff or doing it on a computer.
Yeah.
You're able to then bridge that sort of divide or sort of break that wall that exists between what is physically possible and he's actually going for Mission Impossible level of imagery and stunt work in this, as opposed to just what Anthony Hopkins memorably calls Mission Difficult, which was the previous few films. The stunts weren't necessarily as high stakes.
Yeah.
Over here, he's hanging off of the Burj, for instance, right? I mean, just that sequence. And also,
so
this
good.
is
It's
like,
so well edited, directed, like everything.
and
Like it's
beautifully
a
shot.
beautiful
Robert
sequence. Yeah,
Elswit
Robert
on
Elswit,
camera.
right?
I think the series suffers when he leaves, which is, I mean, no shade on Rob Hardy, who I think does a terrific job on
He's the regular
Fallout.
cinematographer of everyone's favorite currently, Alex Garland.
Oh, really?
So
Okay, I didn't know
fantastic what he
that.
has. Yeah.
So he does a decent job on Fallout, but I think Fraser Taggart has copped a lot of flack for both Dead Reckoning and the Final Reckoning. Less so for the latter, more for Dead Reckoning and the fucking Dutch
Dead
Audience.
Reckoning has a but
Uh,
I think that's COVID related stuff, which we'll get to tomorrow. We are recording 7 and 8, in which Varun will
Yeah.
sadly not be with us because he will.
I'm going for the good, the bad, the ugly. So I
Yeah,
don't
he's
know.
doing better.
Whenever I get back, I'll try and hop in if Dhruv. I don't think Dhruv will let me in. He'll exercise that power he has. He'll be like, nah, you're not entering this room.
Maybe
So
I don't
anyways,
join. No? Maybe I hand the keys over to Amartya, and then he's generous enough to be like,
and
Varun,
he's
come.
matching the two keys together.
Yeah.
So
Anyways,
I think what you said is true. I think the last section of the film does have very sort of, but it's also very gnarly. It's sort of almost gritty in that sense, right? You're just bashing each other with cars. It's like typical boy behavior of this is a dinky car and this is what I'm going to do to you with it.
Yeah.
Except it's elevated to
Is,
actual cars. I think the
is
one
that
thing that
intercut with Simon Pegg? No, Ethan also like has to go like and do low gravity stuff, right? Like where essentially this is my memory getting like there is something where he's practicing to like not die by like holding himself over like a fan or something. Correct me, of course. I don't remember. This is my
that's
memory.
Jeremy Renner.
No, that's
Is that
Jeremy
Jeremy
Renner's
Renner?
character.
Okay. He
Yeah,
has to
and
do
he
all that.
ends that entire set piece with a great line, which is next time I get to seduce the rich guy.
Okay.
Because Paula Patton's doing that in this particular sequence. I think the thing that's a problem for me in Ghost Protocol
Sure.
is especially coming off of like Philip Seymour Hoffman as Davian. Say what you will about how detailed that villain is. I think Hoffman is just one of the great actors of his time.
Yeah.
And he's able to sort of elevate that very basic
It's underwritten also, that
character.
villain also.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
barely written. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, where Dougray Scotts was probably overwritten to the point of, oh my god, what is this? It's Michael Nyqvist, again, great actor, but he has
Nothing
precious
to work
little
with.
to
The
do.
villain is absolutely unaudible. I
And
don't
especially
even
because
remember.
you'd get Solomon Lane, who to my mind is the best villain in the
Yeah.
series, because he is exactly Ethan's opposite in that
Yeah.
they had the same skill set almost, except he's chaotic evil, whereas
Like a
Ethan's
Batman thing
chaotic
we
good.
we're getting
Chaotic
there
good.
with.
Yeah, so I think it's great. It's very memorable. It's also fairly sort of straightforward, like the way Sabine Moreau just sort of goes around
The
assassinating people.
IMF gets
Disavowed.
disavowed. Okay.
Yeah,
And then these guys are
everyone
essentially doing
gets
this operation on their own, right?
Yeah, which is, I mean, like every mission movie.
No, but that's the whole thing. It's simple. You go in and you're
The
just like following the
Ethan
action.
should forever be attached to the HR division of IMF because that's where he's going to wind up anyway, right? Answering to HR as to why shit went down the way it did. Again, they cast a great English actor as the IMF secretary, Tom Wilkinson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He dies in the first scene.
Yeah.
Literally in his only scene in the
Yeah.
film. But yeah, I think so. The interesting thing about Macquarie's involvement is like the first trailer of the film actually credited him with screenplay as well.
Oh, interesting. Because there,
I-
I saw it on IMDb. नहीं है यहाँ पे कोई credit.
No, he's not credited. What happened, I think, is that the writers, Nemec and Applebaum, I
Applebaum.
think, they went to the Writers Guild and they said Macquarie has done shooting rewrites. He has not written the screenplay that was commissioned and officially put into production.
Okay.
Something like that must have happened because he's not credited in the eventual film.
Yeah.
That's why I don't necessarily say that he has a massive thing with the film, though he's obviously got the very memorable line of
Okay, now remember, it's a rolling off motion that disengages the bond. When the meter is blue, that's full adhesion. Easy way to remember, blue is glue.
And when it's red?
Dead.
that's Macquarie through and through. But I think this is very much Brad Bird's film. Also because it wears itself very comfortably. It's happy being a film that is about the enjoyable elements.
Yeah.
Sure, there is a nuclear bomb, but that's par for the course. It's Tuesday in Mission Impossible.
Even
world.
that, I mean, I know everyone loves to see Tom Cruise running because that's like Akshay Kumar
Yeah.
running and Tom Cruise running are the memes you need, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Back
I
to-
just want to switch the music. I want to give Akshay Kumar in Bhagam Bhag the Tom Cruise music. And like, when Tom Cruise is running from the sandstorm in this, I want to go tan 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 tan. Just for the fun of it. I heard somebody did a great Bhojpuri mix of the Mission Impossible theme yesterday. I'm going to send it to you guys. I think it's
I
absolute
mean, you send it to
banger.
Cris, he'll put it in the episode.
It's fantastic. But no, it's I think the thing is joyfulness is what you come to Mission Impossible or to if I want serious spy stuff, I've got Jason Bourne doing that shit. It is fairly serious and fairly dour and it's
And you
not
have
fun.
Christopher Nolan's Batman or
I mean, Batman is
whatever.
not a spy, sir. वो इतना बड़ा चमगादड़ आसमान में घूम रहा है. To
No,
be fair, I mean, Ethan is also not a
रात में
spy.
घूम
He's
रहा है ना
there.
सर, रात
Ethan
में
is
घूम
also
रहा
not a
है.
spy. James Bond would never I mean, the MI6 website
No,
very
I mean,
vividly says
no, I
we
mean
don't want James Bonds.
the solemn, the sort of solemn seriousness.
Solemnity is
So
not
yeah,
there.
that comes from, I think, some of it from the Nolan, which we have praised. Okay, so it's not like we are dumping on Nolan,
Yeah.
except for Tenet, which I think is
I think even in The Dark Knight Rises, it gets a
which
bit
we
much
will
in the
get
middle.
to in
Yeah.
tomorrow's episode, because I got reminded of Tenet a lot while
Mhm.
watching the most recent Mission Impossible film.
The film was
So
going forwards and your brain was going backwards because of the
no, my
fatigue.
brain stood still, and I was just like, "What am I doing here?" And I knew
What
the
is
answer.
life?
No, I knew the answer, but then when my popcorn finished, then I was like, "Oh." Anyways, but
So
for
yeah,
that tomorrow, but not today. Today we are talking about the fun. Fun. What is fun,
fun
guys?
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's fun. Yeah,
It's so
and
strange seeing Dhruv talk about a fun movie, right?
I
He's
like
usually
see,
like,
you are no you see I like my blockbusters. So I think the way I'm approaching these films is also a little, and I know you guys sort of discussed this last episode a little bit.
yeah,
My approach to these films is very much I am fine with them being built around set pieces. Like
Yeah.
I think it's largely like the plot is largely tertiary or just like servicing the stunts. I'm fine with them because the thing I get, and this is a long like old argument made by a film theorist called Tom Gunning. I think I've mentioned it before. It's called Cinema of Attractions. There's a paper he wrote describing early cinema, counter to what I know Martin Scorsese की वजह से everyone thinks theme park cinema is a bad thing. It's not, I think, at least.
I
The
would love a
idea,
Mission Impossible theme park. You strap me to like 100-story long, tall
so what
building
you
and
want
throw me
Ethan,
off.
you want Ethan का statue और आपको उसके ऊपर जाना है.
नहीं, इथन का स्टैचू नहीं, बुर्ज खलीफा रिक्रिएट करो,
अच्छा.
वहां से मेरे को फेंको नीचे.
You come to Dubai,
उसमें
I'll
मजा
make you
है.
go there. धक्का भी मैं दे
No,
दूंगा
but
फिर.
you won't give me safety equipment. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Whereas you are the
Anyway.
one that wants life to end. I am
ऐसे
quite
नहीं
okay.
सर, इतना दर्द नहीं होना चाहिए जाते वक्त.
दर्द क्या पता क्या चलेगा
हाँ, but
गिरने के
दूसरों को
बाद.
पता चलेगा ना, दूसरों को नहीं पता चलना चाहिए.
Just hire somebody to clean up after you.
Okay, fine.
Somebody with
These are
like a
thoughts.
high pressure
These are
vacuum
thoughts
cleaner.
for us mortals, of course, not for Mr.
Not for Tom
Cruise.
Cruise.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's. I think what I enjoy about Ghost Protocol also is that it gives Jeremy Renner his set piece. Though I think that may also be a contractual thing because Renner
I
is
think
coming.
Jeremy Renner was supposed
His
to.
second build, he was supposed to take over
replace,
the
no?
franchise at some
Yeah,
point. But that he was supposed to do with Bourne Legacy, and we all know how that panned out.
Well, I
Jeremy
didn't see
Renner
it,
not
but I
very
know
good
it's-
at taking over franchises
But
belonging to other people.
I think he suits more of a Jason Bourne than this Ethan Hunt,
Certainly, I think,
Yeah.
but his second build over Simon Pegg even.
I mean, Simon
something
Pegg's
that will
comic
repeat
relief,
itself
yaar.
with-
He's essentially comic relief in this, right?
No, but otherwise, I think the films tend to follow the pecking order of when you join the cast. Generally, they only break that with Renner and subsequently with Hayley Atwell in Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
And she's billed ahead of Rebecca Ferguson even. So,
Well,
which is weird.
Not
Spoilers
that
for
I
Dead
like.
Reckoning.
Not that I mind Hayley Atwell. Actually, I really
Not
like
at
her,
all.
but-
I mean, I think she's very fun in that character. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it gives like Renner a big stunt. It gives Benji something to do. It's very much the coming together of the team, right? Which
It's
is
fairly, it's
yeah, it's
moving again.
It's
Always.
not, it's and in fact, Rogue Nation was shorter than this. So in a sense, the films understood until then how to keep it snappy, how to make sure it's a nice sort of delectable snack, or like call it a burger and fries and a soft drink kind of meal, rather than become this long drawn thing of one course after the other of very very pretentious seeming stuff with one very nice appetizer somewhere. Which is what I feel like the films ended up becoming because they leaned into that seriousness.
You want a
What Dhruv
buffet.
is no,
Not
what
a-
you're saying about the thing, right? That it's good to be built around set pieces. I agree with that. Then don't give me sappy, annoying, overly
Yeah, yeah,
emotional
no, no,
character stuff.
I totally agree with that, which is why I think I respond so much to the sort of lunacy of
No,
Yeah,
but
Brad
also
Bird's
it's about a
filmmaking also.
certain balance, right?
Yeah,
Like
of
for me, the
course.
reason I love Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol in particular is because they also balance a certain emotionality, a certain sort
I
of
don't,
weight
so
to
I'll
the.
just, I don't think except for feeling like genuine tension and that in like the Burj Khalifa sequence, I
Hmm.
don't
yeah.
think I feel for the characters that much in Ghost
Yeah.
Protocol. I think Rogue Nation is maybe the only one, and maybe to some extent Fallout, where I
Hmm.
do care about a couple
It
of
it
people.
all it took was a woman in a dress with a high slit to put her leg up like that and shoot someone for Dhruv to be like, yeah, this is my
I
jam.
don't even care about that character. I was talking about Simon Pegg's character, but okay, fine. Uh,
Okay, first of all, we please address your camera, Dhruv. What is this? Why does it keep moving around?
I don't know.
It keeps changing
It's
frame.
dynamic, like it's trying to keep up with your barrage of nonsense. So वो हिल रहा है थोड़ा.
I've actually been fairly streamlined so far. What the hell are you talking about?
Fairly
You
streamlined,
want
yeah.
you want nonsense, Dhruv? I can bring it in. I can bring the rogueness to Rogue Nation if you like.
We've never met before, right?
Follow me.
Benji.
Ethan, where are you?
The Syndicate is real. A rogue nation trained to do what we do.
An anti-IMF.
They're coming after us with everything they've got.
You ready?
This may very well be our last mission. Let's make it count.
So what's the play?
You want to bring down the syndicate? It's impossible.
Chris, take over,
Okay,
both in the
sure.
edit and this thing.
And the conversation both.
Yes.
Okay, yes. The Rogue Nation where Tom Cruise's hair gets shorter, but it still looks very nice.
Nice description.
No,
That's how we have to
does
go.
it get shorter than it is in Ghost Protocol?
It is Ghost Protocol is got almost like a mullet in this. It's just
तो
the
आपको
bangs.
पहली वाली तो इसलिए नहीं अच्छी लगती ना उतनी, क्योंकि उसमें तो
हाँ,
बहुत ही छोटे
पहली
हैं.
और तीसरी
Ah.
and 7. All of them have got him in short hair.
Fallout also
So
has him in short hair. I
Fallout
defeated
is
your whole
still he's got a
argument.
little no, he's got a little bit of bangs in that, so I still don't mind it as much. No, but
Yeah.
my order is always MI2, then
Order.
Final
So
Reckoning.
it seemed like you're ordering Tom Cruise. Like कोई जैसे
We
Varun
do
If I
not we do
could.
not support human trafficking in any way, by the way. Which was apparently
He's
at one
not
point
human.
considered a subplot for Mission Impossible 3 when David Fincher was attached to
Yeah.
it.
What?
I thought it was organ
Yeah.
trafficking, no?
Organ, human, same thing.
Sure, sure.
So what Varun is doing here, very because this will not appear to anyone other than
Exactly.
us because it's not releasing on video. He is shifted from Tom Cruise to Rebecca Ferguson, which is the direction maybe me and Varun both wanted the franchise to shift
Yeah,
into.
preferably.
But उसकी image
I
जो
mean, I
background
don't
में होती है ना,
disagree,
that's
but sure.
changed. That's
Yeah.
changed from Tom Cruise latgoing is not a word, but whatever. I couldn't think of the English word. Hanging. Yes, hanging from the Burj Khalifa to Rebecca Ferguson, essentially holding what is it?
It's a sort of short-range rifle.
Okay,
Hmm.
like very seductively, almost holding that, and then
Also, almost a tribute to Fred Zinnemann's film The Day of the Jackal, in
Oh,
which
is it?
Edward Fox
Yeah.
has a similar short-range rifle.
Okay.
And he's practicing for
This is a-
assassination with a watermelon.
Yeah.
He's shooting down watermelons in
Nice.
the French countryside.
This is her introduction, right, in the film.
This is her introduction to film, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the
So-
Not really her introduction.
no,
Her
it was
introduction
earlier
is the
sequence.
basement sequence in which he saves Tommy.
So
Tommy
yeah,
C.
so apart from his hair, this is also the movie that's a proof of my pansexuality, but because Rebecca Ferguson. But yes, this I think is again one of those films that is again in contention for being my favorite of the series, which is very surprising. It's again one of those that I changed my opinion on quite a bit because I again this one and Fallout when I watched, I didn't really think much about it, but then when I rewatched them, I was like, this is some damn good stuff. So Rogue Nation, I think for me again works best because it uses its side characters in the best way imaginable. It's got, I think, my favorite scene with Benji, which is when Benji tells Ethan off in that boat at the end of the Vienna sequence. I just think it's so fun and it's so emotional in that kind of goofy way that this sort
Yeah.
of Ghost Protocol films do really well. These three do really well. And I just think it's also the most stylish of the MI films, from the the general set pieces itself, but also I think the costuming and styling and everything. I
Doesn't
think
part of
it's
it
got
take place in Casablanca?
it
Beautifully
does,
done,
yes.
that bit.
I mean, there
Beautifully
is
done.
I mean, she's named Ilsa, so it is riffing on Casablanca out and out,
Michael
and she
Curtiz is
looks like
the
Ingrid Bergman to me at least. So it's totally him doing that. I feel in some
yeah.
ways. Yeah.
So it's got some really great set pieces. I think the Taurus sequence is again one of my favorite from the series. It's again got a very consistent sense of humor, and I absolutely agree with Varun when he says that Solomon Lane is easily the best villain in the franchise. And
Mm,
to address a point about Ghost Protocol just a little bit, is that I really don't per se care about villains in this series, which is why
mm,
I don't mind Cobalt in Ghost Protocol. But
mm,
when the villain is good, it
mm,
takes over the entire film and it makes it work so
mm.
consistently. And also, it's just so well written. And I think for me, that's the most valuable thing, right? Because you say, Dhruv, about like building the story around the set pieces, but also when the films are well written, where there's consistent character motivations,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
emotional connections, there
No,
is
no,
a
I
dynamic
want
between the
all that
characters.
also. I'm greedy. I want all that. I just think I'd be fine with that being set to the back burner, and I would like Fallout, I think, is that essentially. I think
Agreed, but
yeah.
yeah, the only reason for me that I sometimes will edge to this more than Fallout is because I value that balance. Like, I'm
Sure,
not
sure.
honestly
I
a
mean,
big
this
action
might be
film
my
person.
favorite also. So it's written by Christopher McQuarrie, by the way. So like credit to him.
Co-written by Christopher
Co-written
McQuarrie,
by
as
him. Drew Pierce is the other co-writer on this.
who wrote
Anyway,
one of
we are
the films
praising
I
him a
enjoyed
lot
from last
today
year.
because kal gaaliyan padne wali hain.
Funny.
It's one of those things.
Absolutely. So again, Rebecca
So
Ferguson becomes one of the greatest additions to the series. I think it's a consistently like
one
well
of the great.
written,
What
well.
will be the greatest
She
then?
is
I
the
think she is
greatest
the
addition.
best
She
addition.
is. I'm saying,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm saying she and Simon Pegg are the two great.
It's
Simon Pegg
her,
was in the
Simon
Creed.
Pegg, and Haley Atwell, so it's like that.
Ving
Yeah.
Rhames is quite
So
nice.
Sorry?
Ving Rhames
Wing
is quite
Rames
good.
Ving Rhames is there from the first film. He's not an addition.
He gave the
addition.
best performance in the recent one for me. But anyways,
Yeah, so it's just I think one of for me I think it's Ghost Protocol, like the goofiness in that for me becomes a sort of, it's almost like a film on its own for me in the rest of the series because it's
sure.
so different with what it does. I think Rogue Nation for me perfects the formula of what Christopher McQuarrie's vision for the series would be, which is very
Mm,
sad that he again peaks so early with his first film, and then like despite the fact that I love Fallout, it's
mm,
kind of downhill from here. So
mm.
yeah, I think it's great. I think it is the best of everybody's instincts. Tom Cruise's instincts, McQuarrie's instincts, the filmmaking, everything I think peaks here, which is
Hmm.
great, but also a little bit sad in the larger scheme of things. Yeah.
Varun,
Yeah,
express
it's
your love for Mrs.
Rogue
It's
Nation.
a Mrs. Ferguson, right?
Ms. Ferguson. So that's the correct way to now say things. You
Is
just
it?
use
Okay,
the professional sort of
okay,
suffix that you would, prefix, sorry.
sure. Whatever.
Yeah, because you
Rebecca
don't say
Ferguson.
Mr. and Meester or Meister or whatever, right? So you don't change that. So you don't change
Okay.
for women or for anybody else
I
in either.
apologize. Please listen to Varun. I was wrong.
So
Yeah.
my favorite by a long shot. I
Okay.
really love Rogue Nation.
Hmm.
I'm just generally, I know people like to shit on Robert Elswit nowadays. It's fashionable because
Why?
he is, I mean, he is a sort of old school cinematographer with his framing in a way. He was
What does
also
that mean? Like he
very,
likes to actually light stuff.
yeah, he's not doing the more fast paced sort of on the fly stuff, I think, which
Oh, okay.
produces more films. But he's done some terrific work. I
Well,
think
that just makes me
memorably,
like him more, but fine. Okay.
There Will Be Blood, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, Inherent Vice is his work as well. He was a
He
great
worked with Paul Thomas
collaborator,
Anderson until
Paul
Phantom
Thomas
Thread, I
Anderson a lot,
think, and then he
except for The
fell.
Master, which somebody else shot, and Phantom Thread
Okay.
is the one over which they sort of fell out with each other.
Okay.
And
Basically,
but
he
he's
became the cinematographer for his own films, I think.
Yeah, with Michael Bauman, I think, serving as
Sure.
lighting cameraman.
Okay.
But the thing with Elswit, I feel, is that because he gets flack largely for being a late convert to digital or for
Okay.
resisting the conversion to digital
Hmm.
from his own tribe also, sort of. But it's
Mhm.
almost a classical action film from like the 90s. Like, it's shot in 90s is the time of sort of spectacular looking action films. You look at something like Speed, you look at something like The Fugitive, which Andrew Davis made. You look at something like Heat. Heat is just so gorgeously filmed.
Episode करी दो आप और अमर्त्य उस पे.
So,
I'll also join. I saw it recently.
And Chris also watched it. मैंने अभी तक नहीं देखी. So
नहीं, आपसे सर मैं वो उम्मीद नहीं रखने वाला हूँ watching Heat.
good.
But I think for me, आप भी तो उम्मीद नहीं रखते ना मुझसे कि मैं sensible वाला.
Exactly.
So Fallout is really like Chris said, it's the synthesis of all the ingredients of what makes one of these films.
Fallout, Rogue Nation.
Sorry, Rogue Nation. I beg your pardon. And it's sort of then elevating that because it has its own distinct identity. This is 2015. It's coming out just before The Man from U.N.C.L.E. by Guy Ritchie, which is again a terrifically enjoyable film. Spectre is to come out the same year.
Insert snoring noise.
Paul Feige has just done Feige, whatever, has just done Spy with Melissa McCarthy. So there's
Paul
been a
Feig.
bunch. Feig, okay.
You made it sound like the Marvel head, Paul.
Oh yeah, Kevin Feige. I may have
Kevin
confused.
Feige, yeah.
They have similarly spelled names.
Yeah.
So Paul Feig now has to show up with a cap on his next movie. Kevin Feige has basically got Himesh Reshammiya's costume sense with Marvel money. So
I was just going to say that. You know what his You know what Himesh Reshammiya's tour is called? It's called Cap Mania Tour.
Oh, he's got like a somebody. I was watching some podcast, alright, and he's got like a Jhalak Zone and the Badass Pit, and it's the Surur whatever.
I tried booking tickets for it.
What the hell? Why?
Yeah, Chris is a bona fide fan. What do you mean?
I'm a huge Himesh Reshammiya fan.
You're a huge Himesh Reshammiya
Like
fan.
non-ironically.
Oh fuck! So you probably like Jhalak Dikhla Jai.
आपका कैमरा टूट गया क्या ये?
Just for the joke.
Put a cap on for tributing.
Toby Penny has done.
Toby Penny. But yeah, so moving on from Kevin Feige and Paul Feig. I think so it's very difficult because Hollywood's the kind of place where everybody wants standardized stuff. These are all like 4 or 5 spy movies.
Yeah.
All Man from U.N.C.L.E. has the advantage of not being contemporary in terms of setting. In the 60s. But the others are all like contemporary, right? So how do you make it look different, feel different? So Sam Mendes is like, I'll take the boring movie. So everybody's like, yeah, please do it. And he goes and makes the most boring Bond movie in a while. At least Die Another Day is like stupid. Spectre doesn't even bother with that.
Spectre is very self-serious, which I think Amartya will bring up tomorrow.
Yeah, Spectre, it's got the Spectre problem, Mission Impossible. So Christopher McQuarrie truly regresses in that sense. He's like, what is the worst action movie from the year? I made my Mission Impossible debut, Spectre. I will make that. So it's almost like that, right? But Rogue Nation has all these great set pieces. It's balancing a bit of story. You still have that tension between Renner and Cruz's characters. There's that chase sequence in Casablanca. It's Cruz chasing somebody and getting chased by somebody. It's like, one thing. It is very
that is
clear
the car. Isn't it like basically he's driving backwards and it sort of flips over somewhere? Yeah.
And he's like, are you wearing a seatbelt? And Peg is like, wait, you're asking me that right now? and that chase sequence is actually they're shooting bareheaded. So moving
like a GoPro, it almost feels like
a
GoPro has been put onto and I think it takes that POV.
Let's not insult film cameras. I think it's shot like a proper film.
No, but there are like certain angles in these films because you are shooting them happening IRL
I mean, so the Halo
on a green screen.
I would say the Halo jump in Fallout has more of a GoPro feel to it because
I mean, kahan pe rakhenge camera aur
no, there is a camera operator who jumps ahead of Cruz.
He's got a camera on his head.
So I think when people like, oh, Cruz doing his own stunts, I'm like, cameraman jumping with a 10 kilo camera, dude. What the hell?
I mean,
And
that's his image. That became the selling point of these films because
yeah,
what
it did, but it wouldn't happen. That craze wouldn't really take off till Fallout. So Rogue
Yeah.
Nation is
because
still
Rogue Nation is
centered.
considered like the more like because there's
Subdued.
mad things he does here too. Like the opening is
Yeah,
actually him going on top of
Yeah.
that plane, right? And then
yeah,
essentially
fucking
hanging
huge
on to that,
transport aircraft,
which he actually
and
Yeah.
does in the
doing
recent one also. But yes,
Yeah.
he
no,
likes
but
hanging off
I mean,
planes. Wow,
it's
what a
a big
hobby.
transport plane and stuff like that,
Hmm.
right? So it's
Okay.
got that whole, and Tom Cruise is short, so there's a bit of visual imagery to it. And
No,
then
but
he's like, open the
in
door,
that
and
it's
the
the
ramp
pre-credit
opens.
sequence, right? In
Yeah,
Rogue
yeah, yeah.
Nation, that's the pre-credit
So
sequence.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that they said, oh, the stakes were not there in the film for him to, I'm like, no, everybody is like, get on the plane, get on the plane. Those are the stakes. They're established right there. And
Yeah,
he
Yeah.
ends the scene by smirking at the guy guarding the aircraft
yeah,
and just parachuting out. And
yeah,
that lights the fuse, as it were. So
yeah.
it's a great opening. It's got these set pieces. Everything is happening. Solomon Lane is so good. I love Sean Harris as an actor. I
Yeah,
think
I don't
he's
think I
also
have
very
like
good
this much
in.
of a reverence for like that character.
Reverence. I think it's more
Well,
about
relative, of course.
how potent a threat are you to
Sure.
Ethan,
He
and how
speaks a bit hissy, no? Like he has like that.
I love that he's got a very interesting rasp. It reminds me of I don't know if you guys know this
Like if
actor
you could
called
take Rami Malek seriously in No Time to Die, that types.
no. Have you guys watched any of the older Kunal Kapoor's work? So
Older,
this is Shashi Kapoor's
not the
son.
one with the long hair.
No, not Rang De Basanti Kunal
Not
Kapoor.
Dawn 2.
Okay.
Not Don 2.
No,
Okay.
So Shashi Kapoor's son, who's also Kunal Kapoor,
no.
he's got a very sandpaper, raspish kind of thing, and
Okay.
Sean Harris has a similar voice,
Hmm.
and it's just, and he speaks with a sort of deliberate this thing of, that
Correct
cadence is
me or like
very
remind
menacing.
me. There is that scene in the one of the opening scenes is basically him putting Ethan inside like a telephone booth
Oh,
box where
I
smoke
love
sort
that
of
sequence
Yeah,
so much. I
engulfs
think
yeah,
everything, right?
yeah,
Something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Okay.
I think it's a fantastic sequence also because again it plays on the IMF ka, the mission, this thing,
Hmm.
and it works directly emotionally because of Ethan's this whole thing that he won't let anyone die sort of it I
Yeah,
think
but
sets
without
up
it
the
being
film's
stated like 50
Mhm.
times before that happens.
Exactly.
Now he's like, I won't let anyone die. Boom, died. What are you going to do now? I won't let any other people die. Boom, one more is dead. Now what are you going to do? It's like,
Yeah.
fuck. It's
And
No,
then
but
this is
so
also
frustrating.
the
Hmm.
place where the subplot with Jeremy Renner and Alec Baldwin is
And
going, right?
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin is going on. They're
Yeah.
like before a Senate committee,
Yeah.
when they were a thing in America and they seemed logical and, possibility of
They
oversight
did
of some
things.
kind.
So now what we see in the most recent one is fantasy
I
essentially.
mean, I think what I said holds true that we are so frustrated with the actual president of America right now that a fictional president, no matter how sane, will also piss us off. Which is half the grievance people have with Final Reckoning. But and the movie is consistently Rogue Nation's consistently moving. There's none
Yeah.
of this stopping, doing like
And if it's
confabulating
stopping,
and
it's like almost
conference.
like a potential like romance between Tom Cruise and Rebecca Ferguson, who have very good chemistry together.
Yeah, but
So
when that romance is like when they're doing that romance bit while jumping off of an opera
Yeah.
house thing, and then doing a bit more Nen Matakka, whatever you want to call it in Casablanca, it's sort of imaginable or it's inventive, it's
yeah,
going
yeah,
somewhere.
Yeah.
It's still very much in the movement of the plot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That is still happening.
Plot
Unlike
isn't like taken over by
yeah.
Yeah.
Amartya
Yeah, like
is asking to join. I will admit him, and then see.
I've ruined your day, haven't I? Oh, and you were doing so well up until then. Now I think this one's loaded. You want to find out?
Anyways, can we get back on track?
Yes. So
कोई फायदा नहीं है ट्रैक पे जाके आई
Amartya,
वाज
No, it's
no. We were
I
quite
was
on track. I
you
think.
were
was
quite on track, फिर
literally-
आप आ गए.
I was literally फाइनल रेकनिंग का आई वाज राइटिंग अ रीकैप एंड आई एम लाइक इसका प्लॉट
God.
इतना बकवास है प्लॉट इतना बकवास है
I mean,
I had a
that
headache.
plot. How did you recap it?
But
So,
plot कहाँ है? There's no clarity in plot only, no?
no,
हाँ,
but
but plot है.
despite them saying it
Sir,
again and
it's
again and
like
again
watching
and
it's like watching a serious take on a David Dhawan Kader Khan Govinda movie, all right, from the 90s. इसकी बीवी, उसकी बीवी, उसकी बीवी, इधर ये वो सब, everything is happening in this movie without necessarily any BVs being involved.
BBs तो safe है इसमें.
Not quite the case in Fallout, because that is what Lane is threatening.
Are we automatically
threatening.
jumping? Okay, fine. Let's
No,
jump.
no, we can continue with Rogue Nation, which
हाँ,
was released in
Amartya
India
है
as
favorite also actually.
Mission
It's
Impossible
interesting that-
Dush Rashtra, which was a very interesting title.
Also
Then
my
अभी
favorite.
पहली-
Also the
इसलिए
best
इंडिया
Mission
में पहले
Impossible
रिलीज हुई
movie.
थी क्या?
Sorry?
इसलिए इंडिया में पहले रिलीज हुई थी क्या?
So
काट
that,
देना ये please,
what
Chris.
would you call the final reckoning in Hindi?
नहीं, रोग नेशन दुष्ट राष्ट्र के बारे में बात कर रहा हूँ.
नहीं, वो पैरेलल रिलीज था, सिर्फ
अच्छा,
फाइनल रेकनिंग
हर जगह रिलीज हुई थी, सब नेशंस में.
वर्ल्ड वाइड, ऑल
सब दुष्ट है ना, इसलिए दुष्ट राष्ट्र.
एक्सेप्ट नॉर्थ कोरिया.
अच्छा, वो तो
वो
साफ है.
वो तो क्या ही है, वो राष्ट्र कहना लेके लायक भी
ये
नहीं
सब
है.
Because
काट देना,
Paramount
please.
Paramount could
Anyways.
not afford the VFX to CG Kim's face onto Tom's.
चलो
Kim hanging onto that plane would have been fun.
that is a separate nightmare sequence. ठीक है, नॉर्थ कोरिया के लोग उस has seen that version of Mission Impossible because that's what they do. Movies का हीरो की वो आदमी ही है.
रोग
Of
नेशन.
course, it should be a man who comes from the part of India that is closest to North Korea that is talking about all this.
Yes, of course.
रोग
Just to clarify, this movie is my favorite of the Mission Impossible movies. I
I
also
think
think
अभी
it is the
all it's
best.
sort of
This is
like
basically Rogue Nation Admiration Society meeting.
Yes, basically,
sort of,
yes.
yeah. Because I know
Yes.
Heyman doesn't love it, so I would have actually, if he was there tomorrow, he can speak ill about it, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, my brief thing only is that this is the only one I actually think I have like emotional content here. I think is what I care about a little bit. Like that whole
And the
thing of
reason
them-
is right behind me.
no, that's not the reason.
For me, that is 100%.
Yes. No, I think so. This is what I said, right? Like it's the supporting characters who are the ones who are the most valuable, right? So they are the ones. If they can die, Ethan can't. So it's as simple as there's this whole segment towards the end where Benji is strapped to a bomb, right? And it feels like Simon Pegg ko bye bye bolne ka time aa gaya hai. Like actually. So which I think which was there in this.
वो इस फाइनल मूवी में भी बोलने का टाइम आ गया था, फिर भी निकल गया.
That would have been spoilers for Final Reckoning. I think if they'd managed to kill him,
Yes.
that would have just elevated the film to a whole new level.
I don't think it would have elevated anything, but okay.
I mean,
थोड़ा
Benji
इमोशनल
sir,
दे सकते थे.
वो थोड़ा मतलब इमोशनल हो जाता फिर.
They were
Wing
trying to do
Rames-
really bad and ill-timed comedy in that sequence, which I thought was not effective at all.
Sir,
But
Macquarie is
anyways.
the writer of The Usual Suspects, not the writer of Tropic Thunder.
So, but this movie
Comedy is not-
has the self-seriousness of Usual Suspects. Don't insert
But-
that comedy.
Comedy, I mean, that is, I would still say Usual Suspects is funnier than The Final Reckoning.
Probably,
It
yeah.
has more, like, the lineup sequence.
Anyway, we like Rogue
Yeah,
Nation.
Rogue Nation's a good film.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
like
wow.
Rogue Nation
Thank
का
you.
comedy also. We like the
Yeah, it's got like good gags and
yeah.
even like Dhruv loves
So
the
it's a
visual gag
cartoon
from
only.
Dead
It's a
Reckoning.
cartoon only basically. It's
Less
a
of a
cartoon. This
cartoon
entire
than Ghost
movie is a
Protocol,
cartoon.
though, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
less so, I think, than Ghost
less so.
Protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this cartoon, I think it's more like you remember when he rushes out of the dam and then gets into the car and they are like, you just died and now you're going to drive a car.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
even him tripping over the car is just
Yes.
such a good
So
visual gag.
I think that's very interesting that you said it, and again, everything will link a little bit to the recent one because, of course, we are building up towards it, and it's sort of everything plays off, and the reason it's linking because that's so diametrically opposite to a lot of this
Yeah.
thing. So So if this exact thing happened in that film, Haley Atwell will be like, oh wow, you're gonna do this now, and in this, it's like
It's
you're
very
doing
Dora
this
the
now?
Explorer.
yes.
Yeah. So it's essentially that difference where it's like she has this, she's like, she sees God in him, right? And I'm like, no, that's not him. He is
That's the
mad.
problem. See, that's
He's
the
mad.
problem, right? See, that's the problem, right? Benji understands that this guy is mad. So Benji is
Yeah.
like, so Benji, don't
in
worry
Rogue
about
Nation,
him.
he does.
No, but No, but this entire film's plot is that everybody thinks Ethan is going insane and they
Yeah.
fundamentally believe that. In the last one, it is he is insane, but we have to believe it. I'm like,
He is
"Ye
our
kya-"
savior. There's literally moments where he looks like he's like descended from the heaven. I'm like, oh
Jesus
God,
Christ.
don't
Jesus
go
Christ the
there.
Scientology head. Jesus Christ the
Yeah, whatever
Scientology
it
head.
was, I was just like, don't go there with this,
Oh my
please.
God.
No,
Oh my God.
there's
Oh my
no
God.
Jesus Christ in Scientology.
Oh
He's
my God,
Zenu.
yeah. Oh my God, Final Reckoning is basically Battlefield Earth, Tom Cruise version.
Sir, इतनी बुरी भी
Battlefield
नहीं
Earth.
होगी, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, Rogue Nation is great.
Battlefield Earth
We
तो
all love
आपने
it.
देखा नहीं. Battlefield Earth आपने नहीं देखा है.
मैंने सर
मत देखो.
शॉर्ट्स देखे हैं उसके, वो
मत देखो.
डच एंगल में ही शूट हुई है पूरी पिक्चर वो भी. हाँ.
I think it's suffice it to say that it's a film that gets it gets the mission done like properly.
It's
Right?
the
Yeah.
perfect, I think it's the perfect distillation of both the TV show as well as the movie, which is a very rare thing to be.
I
to
mean,
be
by
very
this time though, the TV show is really more memory than anything else. It's like
Yeah.
only Amartya and like Bruce Geller remember the TV show at this point.
No, there are people who have seen the TV show.
And
इतना भी
Tom
बुरा
Are they
नहीं हो.
alive?
Yes.
The point is that it's got its own identity and
Sir, you can say that same criticism to me for Star Trek also. बात
Yeah.
सही है, बात वही है. Are all the people alive who have seen the original?
I think
Star
people
Trek
are alive.
में
Star Trek तो lot of
Spock
people
है ना?
complain still
Star
about
Trek
the
में
new
Spock
Star
है.
Trek.
Jesus,
हाँ.
Star Trek में Spock है. हाँ.
मेरे को उतना पता है बस. I don't like sci-fi, so it's not good to be like
Yeah.
things.
ठीक है. Sci-fi also doesn't like you. चलो ठीक है.
That's fine.
That's one more thing to add to.
Sci-fi is
people
Dhruv's
who don't
genre
like.
name.
That's my genre name. Yeah. Anyways, I think we should move on from
Should
Rogue
we
Nation.
move on to the fallout of all of Ethan's actions?
Your mission. Should you choose to accept it? I wonder, did you ever choose not to? The end you always feared is coming. And the blood will be on your hands. The fallout of all your good intentions.
Yeah, of course we should, because that's.
Alright.
I was doing quick because I had quick research on IMDb, and there's such a considerable jump in the meta score for Fallout. Like it's just like I think Fallout when it released, it had the whole this is the greatest action film,
Movie of the 21st century.
I think
and stuff
post
like that.
the common tent pole I think is the Mad Max Fury Road, and then after
I
that
had
it's gone
to,
off, right?
I had to ask the question. Thank God you pointed a Mad Max Fury Road. Other than Mad Max Fury Road, what other action movies had come out which aren't CGI spectacle-based nonsense?
Raid, I would say.
Raid, yes, the Raid Redemption.
Raid. But I
Yeah.
think they were
Black
talking about.
Hawk Down?
Uh,
I know people don't give it much, but it's practical action. It's done
I mean, if
well.
you like that, you'll like Michael Bay. He has that
I mean,
steroidal
No,
sensibility also.
I've watched a bit of Pearl Harbor. I thought it was crap. I
No,
don't-
not that.
not
These
that
other
Michael
stuff.
Bay.
Even Transformers is crap.
Again, not
Right,
that
again, you're
Michael
not a
Bay.
sci-fi fan, but yes.
Not that
I mean,
Michael Bay.
I also just enjoyed both
बहुत सारे
Minority
not that
Report and
typical.
War of the Worlds. So it's
Anyways,
I'm
my
clearly
point
not
is
a
Fallout.
genre agnostic,
Fallout.
though.
When I was sort of going through the list of these,
Yeah.
Fallout is clearly considered, at least critically, and I think even audience-wise, one of
Commercial,
the
yeah.
One of the finest.
not even one of the best Mission Impossible film. I think,
Yeah.
which I think, again, I think a lot of people are. That sort of gives me the indication that a lot of people are going there just for the action. You know, because I think.
Sir, एक बात बोलूं,
बोलो.
just to reiterate, Americans are dumb. सिनेमा
Oh
देखते
God.
नहीं देखते हैं वो लोग. वो लोग
Again.
उसको उन लोगों को प्लॉट से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है उन लोगों को.
Sir, I am with them if the plot is going to take over like it does recently.
No,
okay, so
my shit is कि Rogue Nation में you will see a balance between the plot,
yes, yes,
जो plot hijinks है, and the action hijinks. Those things
Yes.
are there. I agree with Varun, which is a statement I usually don't like saying. I agree with Varun in that the plot hijinks of Fallout literally feels like wait ये connection कहाँ से कहाँ हो रहा है ये
Yeah.
कैसे हो रहा है momentum कहाँ है scene का momentum कहाँ है
And
momentum नहीं
and
है
it
scenes में
it goes very heavily and very suddenly into that the team matters. I'm like, I know the team matters. That's why
Yeah,
Benji's near death scared me in the last movie. But
Yeah.
you don't need to play it like, Suraj bar jate hai. Come on.
yes
That's this last one, not that one.
No. But so it sort of feels a bit like too heavy, too early on in the beginning
I-
of Fallout, and the film settles into its groove.
the heaviness
I'll be
heaviness actually works in the climax क्योंकि suddenly
Yeah.
Michelle
Macquarie also
Monaghan is there, right?
yeah Macquarie realizes that he will have to tie up that end the emotional crux of the Mission Impossible 3 thingy which I'm like kudos to you Macquarie if I were there I would have just forgotten that movie but ठीक है
But that's what I said this earlier before you came. They resolved it in Ghost Protocol that he's divorced her. They've दूर से ही जो आंखों में
आंखों ही
प्यारा
आंखों
हो
में,
रहा
हाँ.
है,
Yes,
वो
basically.
बहुत था. Like, okay, but
हाँ.
you bring her back, she doesn't serve as a detrimental presence to this film. Great. I didn't like Fallout when it came out. Also because at that time I had this awful habit. I watched every bit of promotional material.
हाँ, तो वो तो
I was
सब
like, my
गलती आपकी.
reviews,
तो अभी भी है
my reviews need to be well informed. I need to know what
हाँ.
intent is into
Not
the film.
that well informed.
हाँ
Yeah, so it ruins the film also because Paramount
Yeah.
was like, by the way, Henry Cavill
Cavill
villain है.
villain है.
And then movie में villain कौन है? I'm like, बता तो दिया था तुमने पहले ही. Mystery थोड़ी है. And the whole idea of treating the possibility that Ethan could be this world-renowned quote-unquote terrorist John Lark as even a thread of a possibility. I'm like,
Yeah.
don't be ridiculous now. Come on. I've known the guy for 4 movies, all right? I know he's not world-renowned terrorist John Lark. So give me something else. Like if you turn around and say, oh, actually Rebecca Ferguson is John Lark. That could...
They
it
did
would be
that a
very
little.
bad
Isn't she
twist.
like a double agent or something in the 5th one also? Like it's
She
the whole
is
thing
like a
going.
multiple agent. She's basically Bhagat
Wing
Ram
range
Talwar
या
के साथ
Simon Pegg को बनाओ ना तब तो
quintuple
होएगा
agent.
surprise. Like that's
हाँ, that would have been like a real... Or Reno, if they brought back Reno. It's
Yeah.
like, वो था John
Or
Lark.
Alec Baldwin even, yeah, he's there hanging about doing something.
Yeah, but they had to kill
Alec
him efficiently, quickly. Also because all those table wala scenes are all shot when Cruise's ankle was crushed.
Yes.
Okay.
Like one of the
Anyway, but
buildings here
my
on
point
the
is,
South Bank.
what you're saying, right? You wanted something more. To me, that
Yeah.
more is compensated by just how relentless the action is and
Yeah.
just how good it is. Because it
No,
is
but
just
I think
you
the
know-
ethos of this entire franchisee with that the fact is पहले action scene सब design करेंगे फिर plot
Audio.
लिखेंगे
No, but
Audio,
also
audio,
that
yeah
works.
sorry
Yeah.
F-
No,
first
that
we will
works.
design the action scenes and then we will form the plot that's the
No,
whole
but again,
point right
that works because Fallout has got the opposite of the Final Reckoning problem that it's preceded by such a fantastically well written film that all it has to do is stretch the plot from that just a tiny bit, and it compensates for all the plot and they can focus on the action. That is why for me, like Fallout is able to just do set piece and still work
इसलिए
so well.
इसलिए everybody lost their mind this is the greatest action movie ever I'm like okay plot
I mean,
mean,
sir,
there's
again, you
also-
only said, na competition bhi to aap dekh, and I'm not diminishing how good some of the action in this film is at all because it is bloody good.
extraordinary it is like
That
insanely
I
good
still remember like just how punchy that the scene in
The
Paris
bathroom fight is, yeah.
because
yeah.
it's like totally
It's
like
visceral.
again it's no score and it's like totally full on based on the actual
that bike
muscularity
chase
of
scene,
it.
that bike chase scene inside that Trompenaut, whatever that place is
Yeah.
called in
Arc de Triomphe, yeah.
Arc de Triomphe. Awesome like
Yeah.
amazing stuff but again if you are going to talk about like the best action film of all time quote unquote but it has some of the problems I can point out to another 4th movie which is also entirely action based completely fully action but plot nahi hai but it is according to me one of the masterpieces it is John Wick 4
Sure.
I think John Wick 4 works far better in that
Sure.
regard
Sure.
Because
Ballerina releasing soon in theaters.
yes,
Ladies
yes, yes, yes,
and
yes.
listeners.
You're not promoting John Wick franchise. Yeah,
I mean,
you don't need to sound like a PR agent or
I'm
like,
plugging it in just because it's Anna de Armas and I quite like her.
ऐसे बोलो ना.
And
Who is also who Tom Cruise is
Tom
dating.
Cruise.
Yeah, who Tom Cruise is dating. Yes.
I'm like, dude,
What?
date someone your age for a change.
Oh,
Somebody
I didn't know
apparently
this.
did the math. He's always gotten divorced when his wife was 33. I was like, wow, that's
So yeah, Leo
why
DiCaprio
is
ka
Anna
scene
de
ही है.
Armas not in this franchise then?
She's doing another film with him.
Yes.
Coming
oh
up.
yeah, Doug
There's a
Lyman's
Christopher
directing
Quarry film
that and
coming out.
Macquarie is
Deeper.
writing that.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Macquarie's also signed him to do like a World War II movie. I'm like, really, Macquarie work with somebody else, dude? तो कितना एक ही
क्यों
बंदे के
उसको
साथ?
let
Because
them
there's
have
no,
their
it's not De Niro Scorsese. It's not.
yeah, of course it's not, but that doesn't
So
mean
I'm
that they
saying-
can't
No,
work
but
together.
he believes it is manifestation of destiny है ना.
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
believes it is.
I mean
I'm
उसके
like-
लिए होएगा ठीक है.
अच्छी नहीं बन रही है ना लेकिन पिक्चर आफ्टर पॉइंट
एक
अरे
अच्छी
एक
नहीं
ही
बनी है
picture-
इसका ये मतलब
एक
थोड़ी
अच्छी
ना
नहीं
दो
बनी.
come on.
दो अच्छी
दो अच्छी नहीं बनी.
Come on.
दो
I
कौन
mean,
से?
I
What is
don't
the
डेड
second
रेकनिंग
one?
के नाम
Dead
में डेड
Reckoning.
है.
हाँ.
I'm the
mean,
one who
Dead
doesn't
Reckoning
like the
isn't
recent
that
one
bad.
that
I
you
mean,
can't
Dead
like
Reckoning
It's
isn't that bad.
bad.
No,
It
it
is
isn't that
bad.
bad. No,
Dead Reckoning.
not really.
I refuse to believe it's worse than Final Reckoning, at least to me. So
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
It is better than Final Reckoning is better than Dead
I
Reckoning.
just
I will
can't
die
buy
on
Final,
that.
I also prefer Final Reckoning also because it doesn't have like the terrible CGI that Dead Reckoning does. But
terrible
that's different.
CGI.
Yeah, very noticeable CGI in that train sequence. Okay, I got quite fucking fed up.
The
As
train
after
sequence
saying
at the end looked more artificial to me here. In
no,
some
but that's
shots
all
at least,
shot
but
for good.
anyways.
I mean, Isai Moraes is obviously the stunt.
Oh God! Don't
stuntman
remind me.
is-
He was bad in this. I mean, again, a
He
lot
was
of them
so
are
bad
bad.
in this.
He
He was so
suddenly
bad in
went
this.
unhinged in the last 30 seconds. I'm like,
Anyways,
He's
tomorrow. I think
laughing.
tomorrow is not just tomorrow. कैसे moderate होएगा ये? Anyways,
आपका कैमरा आप पहले ठीक करो ये क्या स्टंट
No,
मुझे
चल
नहीं
रही है?
पता आपको कहा है ना
No,
नहीं
his
पता
camera.
आपको
No, his camera seems like it's like a TikToker watch. TikToker का camera है.
No.
Millennial TikTokers
I
zoom in,
figured
zoom
out.
out.
I figured out why this camera is there. ये Dhruv का
Why?
OnlyFans वाला camera है.
Can we get back to what we were talking about, please?
No,
Yeah, to basically Christopher McQuarrie shooting Tom Cruise's OnlyFans.
No, but I'm
Final Reckoning is, oh my god, like thirst posting to another level. And
No,
why
no,
is
I'm
he
gonna-
half
but-
naked for so long in this
I'm gonna
movie?
very much.
I don't
You
know.
are not the only
Chris, no, wait, Chris, when was the last time you jumped into a body of water with like your clothes on?
No, but
कैसे
he was
तैरते हो
running
आप?
in the submarine also half naked and doing a fight sequence.
ठंड लग
And
रही
his
थी
shirt is
उसको.
short.
अरे वो तो मतलब
अरे एक सेकंड.
no, but submarines are damn hot. Submarines are damn hot.
I know. Yeah.
So
God.
it's like
Can we
logical.
please go
Anyway,
back
yeah.
to Fallout, guys?
Yeah. So Fallout for like I think it just tries to elevate the emotional stakes
Yeah.
a bit too much.
And the
Towards
writing,
it.
he's
But
the
it
sole
does-
writer on this, by the way.
Yeah, he is. He's the only
Christopher
one
McQuarrie.
responsible for it.
So praise him.
And Cruise. I mean, I'm not praising him because it's got that emotional overwroughtness. I think the one interesting thing he does is bring in Vanessa Kirby. She is
She's
never a
very
bad
good.
addition to any film. And I think her being absent from the Final Reckoning is kind of a head-scratching moment. I'm like, dude, you're introducing every third donkey from the US national security apparatus nobody gives a fig about. Why not just bring her back? She apparently shot for the film and was then removed.
Yeah.
from
Really?
the- yeah.
They cut her out. उससे अच्छा मटेरियल इसमें कहाँ है?
कुछ काटा भी है इस फिल्म से.
They're like,
Oh, they
I
have
mean,
cut a lot of shit out.
They
They have
finished
cut a lot
shooting
of
2 weeks or 1 week ago, right? So I mean, like,
My God.
or 2 weeks before the premiere or
The
whatever.
final, this thing was done 3 days before the Japan
Yeah,
premiere.
he finally locked the edit, I think, and the mix and everything. So
Anyways.
anyway, so for Fallout, I think, but it does a good job still of balancing like the plot stakes. So there's 3 plutonium cores. वो लक्ष्मी बॉम्ब की तरह nuclear warheads नहीं लेकर आ रहा है. तो I'm like, हाँ ठीक है ये you know it's a good sort of
Word of advice. Word of advice. Comparison जब करोगे, at least एक reference में रहो. ये क्या है?
अरे but that's the point, right? The entity is like now I have everybody's nuclear bombs. Okay, fuck
But
yourself, dude.
एंटिटी पे क्यों पहुंच गए? फॉलआउट पे रहो ना.
No, so that's what I'm saying, right? Over here, because the plot dynamics are like the stakes are well grounded that these three cores can do enough damage.
I don't.
And
Can you recap what happens in Fallout? I literally
so
don't have any idea. I've
Tommy
forgotten.
is supposed to go get the plutonium from some people. They
Yeah.
hold one of the team, either Benji or Luther, at
Okay.
gunpoint, and they're like, plutonium de de. तो plutonium दे
They
देता
hold
है और
Luther at
Sounds
gunpoint.
like Dawn 3. Anyways, go ahead.
Dawn 3.
डॉन
वही
3
होएगी, ऐसी होएगी थोड़ी.
सर रणवीर
Wait,
सिंह ऐसा कुछ नहीं करेगा. रणवीर
Dawn
सिंह
is
एक
a
सेकंड. रणवीर
Dawn is
सिंह
a
Dawn 3 के
gangster. Why is he hanging around with people who deal in nuclear warheads?
और एक
Sorry,
सेकंड
मैंने कुछ बोला. मेरी
और
गलती.
एक
आप
सेकंड
बोलो जो बोल रहे थे.
और एक सेकंड
और
डॉन
ये आदमी मुझे क्रिटिसाइज करता है.
डॉन इज प्लेड बाय रणवीर सिंह नाउ. कोई करिश्मा तो है नहीं, बंदर की तरह कूदेगा हर एक टेररिस्ट के ऊपर. तो कोई फायदा नहीं है उससे. वी कैन गो बैक टू टॉम क्रूज, द बेटर मंकी इन दिस सिनेरियो.
So basically, the plutonium gets taken away. The IMF has to sort of go to Paris and try to secure it again from like this arms dealer who is Max, played in the first film by Vanessa Redgrave. Her daughter, called the White Widow, or Alana Mitsopoulos, played by Vanessa Kirby. Vanessa, nice play, by the way. But yeah, and the CIA is like, bro, you've got my plane, so you're also taking my dude, which is August Walker, played by Henry Cavill with the mustache that ruined Justice League.
Yes.
That movie had a series of problems. That movie had a series of
the
problems.
It's not
mustache.
just a
Yeah.
mustache.
Yeah.
Not
Okay,
just the mustache.
the mustache that cost Warner Brothers 20 more million.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. So they jump out of this aircraft, big halo jump that they shot in the United Arab Emirates. Go try to retrieve the plutonium. Shit happens. Then they realize कि
भूल गया.
what's his name? गंगाधरी शक्तिमान है, meaning August Walker ही जॉन लाक है. तो वो जाता है प्लूटोनियम लेकर कश्मीर. Because
अच्छा,
they've got
okay.
beds.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's the interesting part. He's also managed to ground it in some level of यहाँ पर फोड़ूंगा ना तो मजा आ जाएगा एकदम. So it's like that, like three countries competing over this sort of territory.
Okay.
And so it has some stakes. I think also what McQuarrie said was he wanted to get more political. He wanted to wade into the Kashmir issue with the film. I'm like,
Really?
really? Are you sure?
कहाँ
It's a
पे?
Mission Impossible film. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he has. If you look at
I mean,
the
it is
Fallout
true.
trailer-
It is Mission Impossible in reality, but that doesn't mean you
So
put that
in the Fallout initial trailers, they've got like Indian soldiers who've been killed by John Lark and by Solomon Lane. You've got barbed wire, which is a very common sight for me at least. in life.
Who's the editor of this
Dripping with
movie?
blood.
They should be paid 2-3 times whatever they have. Because none of this
I think
would have
it's
been
Eddie Hamilton edited this one as well.
great job for cutting this stuff out.
No, I think they had to scrap it at a script level because they realized if they wade into that place, the only other country the only country in Asia really where Tom Cruise opens a movie on his own, India,
He's
would
India.
likely block the film from being released. They had to censor it anyway because the censor board was like, the map is not correct. So they had to change that and bring it back. And then the film was passed or whatever. So obviously,
Tom Cruise
Come on.
must have been like, you are letting billions of dollars walk away because of political correctness? Are you insane?
CBSC was like, नहीं ये करेगा तू.
ये करेगा तू?
Not everyone's got David Fincher's balls, right? He's like, fuck off, नहीं release करूंगा picture. So I think, and at this time they also
This
did like
picture के लिए क्या हो रहा है?
Gone Girl. He didn't allow Gone Girl to be released in India.
In India because of the cuts?
Yeah, cuts. He said, I won't touch my film. You can rate it A.
वो
and
तो
let it be
नहीं
released."
करेगा. That's true. Yeah.
So they had a great bit in the Fallout trailer where he's flying a helicopter down, like the final helicopter sequence. At one point in that, he is flying the helicopter like just over a road, and in front of him is an all India permit wala truck. Like, and it would have been a great thing if they'd managed to pay Sunny Deol like 5 million and be like, just poke your head out. Sanjeev would have literally started dancing in the theater. मैं निकला गड्डी लेके, wow. Tara Singh, oi!
Somebody shouting, "Oye!" Tom Cruise would have been like, "What the fuck is that?"
So they had to scrap all that because they were like, okay, the movie needs to release in India. And opt for a more streamlined bomb फोड़ दूंगा type,
I mean,
you
सनी
know.
देओल का कैमियो दे देते 2 बिलियन और आ जाते, कोई इशू नहीं
That's
था.
true. I mean,
I
उस टाइम
don't think
पॉपुलर
सनी
नहीं था ना,
देओल
उस टाइम
popular
वो
था 2018
एनिमल नहीं
में.
आई थी, आई थिंक, या आ गई थी एक्चुअली.
वो बॉबी देओल की पिक्चर है.
नहीं
Get your
नहीं
Deols right.
sir, I meant in
Next,
terms.
Dhruv will say Sunny Deol was so great in Rocky और रानी की प्रेम कहानी.
सर धर्मेंद्र खुद अपने दोनों बेटों में डिफरेंस नहीं ढूंढ पाता है, वो हम लोगों को क्या
Sorry,
कर
but I
रहे हैं.
wasn't saying.
But वो
I
90
meant
साल
in
का
terms
है.
of the testosterone-fueled sort of action hero,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
yeah. But
I mean, it would
anyways,
be a great reference, but I don't think you need
I
people with
don't
that level
think
of
Christopher McQuarrie is
cultural
aware of
awareness.
Gadar,
Yeah,
एक प्रेम
yeah.
कथा. Sorry.
He needs to sit down and educate himself. So at that
Yeah.
time, I remember because
संजीत को भेज दो, संजीत को भेज दो.
like I said, right, I was watching all these interviews, and he did one. Tom Cruise did one with at the Paris junket with Rajiv Masand,
Okay.
and Masand was like, "You've shown India now twice in the films, but never shot there yourself." He's like, "You gotta help me with all the permissions and this, that, and the other, and I need to be able to lock down entire roads." I'm like, "पागल है? पहले MP MLA तो बन जा इंडिया में, MLC तो बन जा, फिर सड़क बंद होगी तेरे लिए." And so it's that whole complication of how you're going to depict India. So I think New Zealand and Norway stood in for Kashmir.
I mean, listen, those two, वहाँ पे तो हर चीज का permit मिल जाता है, right? So it's totally
Yeah,
fine.
and you can't. I mean, you couldn't shoot this in Kashmir. Like if you look at just the geography of the place, it's not possible to mount
Yeah.
this kind of production there.
Which is fine. Like all, my God,
Dhruv doing some stunts of his own.
I dropped my AirPods. What stunts of his own?
That is a very expensive stunt.
Dropping the airport का case here down is not that.
Sir, that wouldn't have been a stunt. Would have been catching it in midair and then putting it over. Yeah, that would have been the stunt. But
Why is Dhruv a South Indian hero in your imagination?
क्योंकि उससे ज्यादा हम नहीं जा सकते ना, उतना बजट
Exactly.
नहीं है.
Anyways, हाँ, हम लोगों ने कुछ बात फिर we started quite well.
I mean,
but we totally
yeah,
derailed.
Amartya derailed this
Oh
completely.
yeah, Amartya derailed. Yes, of course he did. Yeah.
Yes.
You're well behaved. सारा वो जब अमर्त्य के साथ अकेले रिकॉर्डिंग करती हो तो ये सब नहीं होता. But यहाँ पे
नहीं.
करोगे बस अपनी.
आप आ गए ना सामने, आप और अमर्त्य दोनों थे, तो अमर्त्य and I decided that हमने बिना बोले डिसाइड कर लिया कि ध्रुव का
We are going to disrupt the shit out of this one.
ध्रुव की
Edit नहीं
मानसिक
कर रहा.
स्थिति थोड़ी.
आपको मेरे बारे में नहीं सोचना, आपको क्रिस के बारे में सोचना चाहिए.
हम 2000 के बाद बॉर्न वाले लोगों के बारे में, उनके वेलबींग के बारे में नहीं सोचते हैं.
हाँ, वही.
ये पीढ़ी थोड़ा सफर कर ले, अच्छा होगा उनके लिए.
Join the IMF. See the world on a monitor in a closet.
But
Sounds
so
like such a 90-year-old uncle.
He तो
so
sounds like
basically
one anyway.
अमर्त्य के हिसाब से जो बच्चे होते हैं.
Yes, yes.
Amartya
No,
goes
but-
out in the street and gives the elderly who are sitting there having chai Ashirwad.
Yes. The shit about I don't know anything about this, but ये helicopter का sequence थोड़ा overrated लगता है. I like it
I
just fine.
definitely
No,
think
so
it's
wait.
overrated.
No, I will disagree here because the first time I saw Fallout, I thought the helicopter sequence was tiring, and I thought it was in general a bit too long. But this is one of the films that on the rewatch I'm like, no, I think the editing and the way that it's put together is really well paced and tight. So like for me,
सच बताओ कि पहले टॉम क्रूज से प्यार नहीं था, अब है, इसीलिए अब
टॉम
sequence
क्रूज से
पसंद
सर बचपन से प्यार है. माय डैड इज अ ह्यूज टॉम क्रूज फैन. उनके थ्रू मुझे आया है.
है. अच्छा, this
I
is a
am-
familial problem.
It's a familiar problem. Literally, we walked out of the final reckoning, and my dad is telling me stories about watching Top Gun in '86 when he was in 11th
वो
standard
उन्होंने भी
or
टॉपिक
whatever.
चेंज कर दिया ना. नहीं
हाँ.
नहीं पे लेक्चर से.
हाँ, फाइनल रिकॉर्डिंग के बारे में बात नहीं किया. टॉप गन में चला
उनको-
गया डायरेक्ट.
उनको पसंद नहीं आई तो क्या
Fair.
करे.
Yeah.
Like her dad is literally going back 42 years in his memory. His dad is
Yeah,
going back
his-
42
yeah.
years in his memory. I'm sorry. And he's like,
To protect
You know,
himself
beta,
from the trauma of final
वो
recording.
फिल्म 1985 की, मतलब क्या गजब पिक्चर. And Chris is like 40 साल पहले की बात क्यों हो रही है यहाँ पे?
And also, I
40 साल
don't.
लग
Also,
गए ना सिनेमा हॉल में.
Also गजब पिक्चर है नहीं वो, but ठीक है, वो हम कुछ
And,
नहीं
and
कर
also, Tom Cruise looks better at 62 than he does at whatever
I
age he is in
disagree.
Top Gun.
He looks
I
haggard as fuck in the final
I
recording.
am sorry, you
I'm like,
guys
आ
not
जाओ
being.
चंदा दे देता हूँ मैं.
Like I was telling Dhruv, you guys being straight is not on me. I am sorry.
I mean, we're
I'm
straight,
presuming.
but older people for us are Rebecca Ferguson, at least for me. Older
Yes.
people for me is not Amit Shah, Tom Cruise. It's not that league. I'm just keeping the joke consistent now.
This is for reference. Please do not listen to our last episode on Mission
Please do. I put
Impossible
in a
1,
lot
2,
of
and 3.
effort to edit that thing.
Actually, yeah,
Please.
listen to it for Chris, but then you'll have to fast forward a
No, but
lot of bits.
no, but
in the,
no, but on a serious note, if we have to rank
yes,
the action sequences, क्योंकि plot rank करके कोई फायदा नहीं है. If we have
I
to
think
rank the
no,
action
no, but
sequences
Amartya,
here,
you're saying this right. I genuinely think Fallout may maybe there's a bigger evidence of what happens in the next two in the key. There's a clear delineation between
yes,
action and
Yeah.
drama.
Plot.
So you know,
yes.
जब
Yeah.
drama आता है, it genuine. It's like speed breaker होता है ना. How when someone's going through, it's essentially speed breaker. But the
Yeah.
good thing about Fallout is that it just keeps on going still at the fastest pace. It's not like like the films which are essentially epilogues, which we're going to call, because this feels like a true
No,
culmination of
you
everything.
people are Coppola acolytes. You should call it a coda.
Sir,
Sir, मैं
कोटा
तो
से
sir,
वो use
मैंने
नहीं करता है.
I've तो lost every like
Bread of.
no I like Coppola's work, but you can't call me an acolyte considering I don't like Megalopolis. So
I am the
you know,
acolyte.
and
14 बार
Chris is so
गॉडफादर देख
वो
चुका हूँ.
हाँ
14 बार
मैं
गॉडफादर
नहीं
देख
हूँ
चुका हूँ.
acolyte.
I am
मुझे
the acolyte.
मुझे पिक्चरें बहुत अच्छी लगती है. I respect him as an artist a lot, but I have like जो मुझे Megalopolis I can't defend it. Sorry. But
You can't tolerate the megalomania of Megalopolis, basically.
no, I mean I can't tolerate that.
I
But
mean,
like
उसमें
anyways,
मेगालोमेनिया कम नाइवेट ज्यादा है, but ठीक
हाँ
है.
वैसी पिक्चर बनाने को ही हम मेग्लोमेनिया कहते हैं. Anyway,
हाँ है but ठीक है. But sir, I mean उस
ठीक है.
एंगल से I don't mind it. But like anyways, वो पिक्चर आप
I think
देखो,
definitely
आपका reaction देखने लायक है.
megalomania is definitely like the birth of like in Christopher McQuarrie's case. Definitely there's some level of it entering
But-
Dead Reckoning and the final.
Final
Yeah, but
Reckoning,
then
though, definitely.
People will accept anything because
Can you blame
Tom and me. No, I can actually blame him because you have a good enough example of what makes one of these films enjoyable, genuinely
Okay,
enjoyable.
Varun, I'll ask you this just because today, if you make something that's very good on one level, don't you then feel the need as a filmmaker and for Cruise as a star to one up that? Aren't they just trying to do that with each of these films?
No, I don't. I think it's what I said earlier. I think they've realized that there is some amount of. I'm not saying there's no emotional connect with Ethan Hunt. I'm just saying he is not. No generation can actually claim to have grown up with Ethan Hunt because the 8 films have taken 30 years to make.
Yeah.
Right? So grown up, matlab you've grown into a whole ass adult. Growing up with a movie would be more Harry Potter, would be more Marvel. That is the emotional sort of element.
Fucking
which
James
is
Bond,
very
even,
different.
fucking James Bond. If you think, even if you think
James
about
Bond, if you think of it in terms of actors, so you can
Yeah,
grow
of
up
course.
with Craig's Bond or Brosnan's Bond or
But
whatever. Right?
but that is a franchise that has been going on for 50 years and it had 30 movies at the very
So
least. It's
wait,
like,
you
yeah.
guys have because you guys spoke a lot about in the previous episode about Mission Impossible in relation to Bond, right? So do you think there's like you know how you said Bond has gone through multiple iterations and multiple
Yes.
actors?
Yes.
Is that like can you chart a similar sort of tonality change in like the Mission Impossible also? Like
We've tried to do that with the episode breakdown, right? Which is
Sure.
1, 2, and 3 are very clearly a certain subset of films.
no, but they
4,
each
5,
are
and
very different tonally, right?
Oh,
Aren't they?
definitely, but
Yeah.
they're all.
I think they were
So I would
supposed to
say.
be. I think
would
they were
say more
supposed to
like
be
Are,
also.
are they more directorial showcases then and now
The
they
first
become
three. The first
Yeah.
three were.
The
so
few-
this is like an alien
Yes,
franchise
yes,
is what
yes.
I'm thinking of it as.
Yeah.
What I'll say is that Brad Bird and McQuarrie in Rogue Nation are also producing directorial showcases.
Sure.
They're individual.
Then
they're
it
very much
becomes a
playing-
sort of
Then it becomes a McQuarrie Cruise collaboration.
Collaboration, yeah.
Where the line of actor director is starting to blur. In the Cruise case, because obviously McQuarrie is not on screen except for like fleeting shots. He's got that Hitchcockian habit of appearing in every film of his in one frame at least, or being a part of it in some way. So he's in the train in
आपको
Dead
तो
Reckoning.
automatically बुरा लग गया फिर तो
नहीं,
Hitchcockian
इतना-
habit जो
I
है.
mean,
anyways.
Hitchcock was the thing was he was he looked very much like a man of his time, so he
Yeah.
blended into the environment. Also, in Hitchcock's time, filmmakers weren't as visible. You didn't
Of
know
course.
what they looked like, which is why Billy Wilder and William Wyler were often confused for each other.
Yes, that
Right?
is true. Yeah.
They were both sort of Jewish West European filmmakers who had come and sought work in Hollywood. Either way. So the thing is that Macquarie is more recognizable. So you're like, Macquarie. It's like Farah Khan, catching Farah Khan in one of her own movies. Except she's not, or like, okay, catching Farah Khan in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. You know that's Farah Khan because you're.
But she has a media personality. There's a difference, though.
Yeah, so I mean, Macquarie.
Like she is something other than a director.
Again,
that's
that's the thing, right?
Doesn't mean उसका
everybody
media
is a brand.
personality नहीं.
No, everybody is a brand now.
No,
Everybody is a brand now. That's all.
no, but you're comparing the wrong. I don't think you're comparing the right sort of.
Okay, so if Nolan were to make a cameo in one of his movies, I would
Which he
recognize him
wants,
as well. He is not a media personality in the way a Farah Khan is, or even a Macquarie is not on the same level. But Macquarie
Fair,
is,
but okay.
is recognizable because press junkets. and
मुझे
all.
तो नहीं. I have not. I don't know his face that well, so I actually don't recognize him. And wherever he shows,
I mean, he's a
shown
very
up.
distinctive looking man. Like
Matlab,
he's
okay, I'm
tall,
just
broad-shouldered, wears spikes,
saying,
grey hair.
no, I've not found any instance in these where I'm like, oh, Christopher
Very,
McQuarrie.
very quickly, Cris is going to go from Tom sexual to Cris to fur sexual, right? That jump can happen at any moment. I'm just
I mean,
saying.
Christopher McQuarrie is a very good-looking man, but apart from that,
yeah, like he should need, he'll become an actor and then Cris will be like, अरे Christopher McQuarrie और यहाँ से बस drool टपक रहा है. So I mean, like खून टपकता है Fallout में.
इंसान है या कुत्ता?
No, what are you saying, Varun?
आप engineer हो सर, आप लोग तो मतलब हवसी होते ही हो, रहने दो.
हाँ, लेकिन
And
इतना
वो
भी
भी
कुत्ते
वैसा
जैसा
बन
नहीं है.
जाएगा IIT जाकर.
वो IIT कर चुका है
मेरे
already.
को
हो
बख्श
चुका है.
दो यार, मैंने क्या बिगाड़ा आप लोगों का? मेरे को
Any-
एक
Anything to
लोगों का
shit on IIT.
हमने कुछ नहीं बोला, सिर्फ वरुण बोल रहा है ये
आपको
बात.
नहीं, मुझको एक बुढ़ा पसंद आ गया, आपको बस मेरी
हम क्या करे राम तुमको बुढ़ा मिल गए. So I think what you're saying, Dhruv, it makes sense in terms of okay, but Fallout में like Amartya pointed out, there's that ability to separate is actually also a strength of Fallout. Like okay, the action will pause for a bit, but the drama is relevant. It may be a bit overwrought. I don't think Macquarie is a great dramatic director necessarily. I think it's also a question of how skilled you are. And
I think
his lack of
we'll,
skill in the drama starts to show later.
I
especially.
might
Yeah.
before tomorrow. I might rewatch if I don't fall asleep
Reckoning.
while watching Dead Reckoning, because I know Cris, you talked about how some
You
of
will
the
you will definitely fall asleep in the
which
third.
is fine.
I can
I'll
guarantee
wake
you.
up and watch it again. Like it's one of those
Yeah.
things. But
Then
no,
I-
Solaris नहीं है
For
ना.
Dhruv, it's Sunday.
Solaris नहीं है ना.
huh?
I mean, which Solaris?
The
No, he
original.
means that
Okay.
Tarkov's not Steven.
You fell asleep
उसकी
watching that?
उसकी पिक्चरें देखी हैं स्टीवन सोडरबर्ग की. कौन सो सकता है 1.5 घंटे की पिक्चर में उसकी आंखें
The
थोड़ी
original,
बस
the original
में problem हो
Solaris
सकता है.
ध्रुव का अभी भी खत्म नहीं हुआ है
मैंने
क्योंकि
नहीं
पहले
खत्म-
10
yeah, I
मिनट
will readily
पहले
admit
10
I've
मिनट
never
जाके
finished
सो
that
जाता है
movie.
बंदा.
Yeah. I've always like 45 minutes and I'm just like, nice, this is perfect. Like then I wake up and I'm like,
Again,
let's start it over
again,
And I
to
watch it and
all
I sleep
the
again.
again to all the cinephiles who have seen Tarkovsky Solaris, number one, stop lying to yourself by saying you have seen it in one go. You haven't. Stop lying. Number two,
सर ये आपका
if
टीचर आपका अध्यापक वाला पर्सनालिटी ज्यादा यहाँ बाहर आ रहा है.
if you fall
क्लासरूम में दिखाओ ना जलवा आप ये.
if you fall asleep, it is completely okay to wake up and then resume from that position. Do not be like Dhruv and start over. You are going to fall asleep again.
Dhruv is basically Groundhog Daying Solaris.
Yes.
Which is weird, I've watched his slower films and actually sat through them quite well, like
So,
without in one go.
Back
But anyway.
to the
Yeah,
fallout
not about
of all
Solaris.
his
This
actions.
is not Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Is not about Solaris. Yes.
I mean, to
What
be
I
fair,
think is
Tarkovsky's filmography completion is Mission Impossible. But ठीक है, चलो.
So for instance, when you take Lane's death in Fallout, which is a slightly broodier action piece, which
Yes.
is within a confined space.
Is that inside the truck? Like with the
No.
No,
Inside the
it's in
cabin.
it's a cabin. Yeah, inside the cabin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the same time, Ving Rhames is asking Dr. Michelle Monaghan to help him defuse a bomb. Because they are never like, let us have a backup squad. No. जो है
No, the team है ना?
हाँ, there's no sort of reserves
Which is
operational
fine.
reserves
Which is
training.
I don't think there's a problem with that.
Perfectly fine. I'm just being an asshole about it.
Yeah,
As
which
I normally am.
comes naturally, right? So it's fine.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, the film still has that stop, start, but it's able to balance it.
Yes.
It's that tonality just completely goes out of the picture. It's also when you're trying to lug a 2 hour, 40-minute film to the finish mark.
How long is Fallout? 2.5
Fallout
hours.
is 226. So it's still
Which is 10 minutes
Still
of credit,
pretty
so
okay.
2 hours, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's still pretty okay if you think.
Yeah, I mean, but Dead Reckoning is 15 minutes longer. Final is 21 minutes longer.
No,
than
and
this.
you know it
They both
seems
feel an hour longer.
no, but
certainly.
I think
They-
it's the whole thing. You can say that 15 minutes or 20 minutes doesn't seem that long, but as
No,
someone who's
in
before
action film terms, it's a
no,
lot
but
of time.
even before this, I watched Final Destination Bloodlines, which seems to be a favorite for a lot of people. That's 20 minutes longer than any Final Destination movie, and it feels 40 minutes longer.
Right.
Because
No, so and the thing is that time is not always a good indicator. I use as a reference point for that. When I went to watch Phantom Thread, they were projecting it on a blown up 70mm print. So fantastic sort of experience watching it.
हाँ
really
कर दो
enjoyed the film,
प्रोजेक्शन को
whatever.
वो कौन से सिनेमा में गए थे वो भी बोल दो
एडगर राइट का लोकल सिनेमा.
अच्छा तो एडगर राइट को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं हम लोग
हाँ,
वैसे कर चुके
करना
हैं
भी
काफी
चाहिए. But Phantom Thread, I mean, which is PTA's got a film coming out soon. Phantom
When is
was
it coming?
September. One battle after another.
that quick
Yeah.
I mean, he was supposed to open it at Cannes, but he's now, I think, trying to.
Oh, he didn't
push for
submit it?
Venice. Yeah, but I don't think Venice is a good place to open a film. चूतिया पिक्चर नहीं जाती है Venice. Anyway.
बता दो सर कॉल कांटेक्ट कर दो उसको सुन लेगा आपकी बात
चूतिया लोग भी Venice जाते हैं. I just want to shit on Venice.
Did Jafar Panahi just win the Palme d'Or?
he won
I
sorry
think
we
so.
have oh that's great for him sorry this is like you know
Yes,
very
he
Yeah.
won. Yes, he
Cannes,
won.
Cannes broadcast.
yeah and on that note you can listen to a Jafar Panahi episode also we recorded that
Yeah,
So
he won. He was given the award by Juliette Binoche.
how
So
lovely
nice. Dhruv would
Well-
want to be in his place.
no
Dhruv
I would
wanted
want
to
to be with him there I'm very happy he's there
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, basically before they played the film, right, over here they've got like the chain theaters play 25 minutes of trailers, which is frankly like PVR level of nonsense. So, I got 20 minutes late for every movie. Prince Charles just 10 minutes. So, they did a beautiful long trailer of Lawrence of Arabia, which they're going to be showing very soon in 70mm. Really excited about that as well because fucking Lawrence of That's a 4-hour long movie. मैं शांति से बैठकर देख सकता हूँ एक सेटिंग में and I will not break a sweat. It's not about my patience, it's about how well you keep the narrative
Of course.
moving. And
I
it's
mean-
a drama, so it stops a lot, right? It's
Yeah,
not all
you
charges
need
into
downtime
Aqaba.
for that. I mean, Amartya, we talked about this in your the first episode we did for genre literacy in Seven Samurai, and this will come back tomorrow when we
Oh,
talk
fantastically
about
paced film. Seven
Yeah.
Samurai again,
Amazingly
right?
paced film, yeah.
3.5
And
hours long
so much of it
with
is
a lot of setup, with an
similar with
extensive setup.
yeah. With a full assembly, like that would be like a song in another kind of
Yes.
film, right?
Yeah.
But in
China Gate insert here, please. But anyway.
But China Gate में song नहीं है, वो बस एक मीटिंग.
वो एक छम्मा छम्मा डाल दो.
छम्मा छम्मा हे छम्मा 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 बाजे रे मेरी पैंजनिया रे छम्मा छम्मा बाजे रे मेरी पैंजनिया.
वो एंड में आता है. But anyway, fun film. Seven Samurai में look at that sequence where they block the invaders with those shields
Yes.
after letting a few in. That repeats itself, I think, at least thrice.
Yeah,
But it is new every time.
single time. Every single time, yeah.
Because he's using rain, he's using sort of angles of camera, he's using sort of the time of day.
He's
even.
changing it also, na.
Yeah, he's changing the setup essentially. So the thing is, then in a film like Fallout, even when it lags, it realizes that it needs to do something, and that's how it keeps the plot moving. Why the other two fail is because they stop and they're like, now this is a drama. Fallout wears itself as an action movie where some talking has to happen.
Yeah.
The others are very much drama where too much stunt work needs to happen in a very compressed time frame. around the drama, which
At
is
the very
then
least,
difficult.
at the very least with Dead Reckoning, at least in my case, at least I think, Dead Reckoning में for me the espionage section which is integrated with the drama, I think that works to a certain degree. I think I think Final Reckoning में it becomes so self-serious parable nonsense within the plot itself कि lack तो होता ही है, you are completely tuned out until the second half of the movie.
Also, I mean, the whole guesswork of Angela Bassett का बेटा कौन है, हमने फर्क क्या पड़ रहा है?
कौन guesswork कर रहा था?
I mean, like, I think
आप ही कर रहे थे लगता है सर.
no, so मैंने अपने दिमाग में कंस्ट्रक्ट कर लिया, हमने Greg Tarzan Davis is her son. That should be the payoff. Because if you're making me invest, it better have a fucking payoff.
No. When did they make us invest?
Because they're like, oh, she's looking at the photo of her
एक
son.
फोटो सर, एक frame देखने से नहीं होता.
But you know, the thing is, you're trying to bake in some level of detail. Then you have a payoff that's actually worth it. Say Tom Cruise is her son for all I care. You know,
that payoff made me want to barf, honestly. With
yes,
her. I was just
because
like,
it has no narrative relevance.
cheesy.
It has no narrative relevance more than anything
anyways,
else.
this all will happen tomorrow. 4, 5, 6 are amazing.
Yeah, 6 less so, but like 4 and 5 are like
relative, like whatever. Like 4 and
6
5
is amazing. 6 is amazing as an action, quote unquote, action set piece field movie. As
I
a
think
dramatic
6
way,
also
somebody-
in a color sense, right? They go away from the sort of bright popping colors of
yellowish
you
tone
think they shift into the moroseness, sort of Nolan-y?
the dour sort of very, very dull colors that they're constantly wearing. And it's filmed also mostly in cloudy conditions.
I should love this the most then. Actually, I should, in that respect, I should love this 7 and 8 the most. But, well.
7 and 8 are still fairly bright in that the color
7 is very bright. 7 is quite bright.
Okay. 8
I mean,
not
the yellow car and everything. I thought for me the vibrance in 8 came from like the underwater sequence, because blue is a color that's very rich in sort of gradient and hue and stuff like that. It's not a gray or a black.
This is essentially Varun. You can think, Varun. You can very quickly sum up what you thought of 7 and 8 because you are not going to be with us tomorrow.
Yeah, because I'll be watching.
Neither am I.
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
You're also not coming?
No, I'm not coming.
Okay, then Amartya, you can also very quickly sum it up, and then Cris, me, and
Elders first. So please
Elders
go
first.
ahead.
अच्छा ठीक है, इतना ही अगर रेस्पेक्ट दे रहा हूँ मैं ही बोल देता हूँ क्या है.
यहाँ पे चैप्टर सेपरेशन कर देना क्रिस.
हाँ,
जिस दिन का एंड में एपिलॉग, ये अपना एपिलॉग है इस एपिसोड.
If I last this long.
Do you copy? Yes! I copy! Look, I'm just trying to help you, okay? I need you to take a step back and pull yourself together because I am under a lot of pressure right now.
I apologize.
Sir, Cruise अगर 40 साल घोड़ों की तरह भाग सकता है, तो खच्चर की तरह थोड़ी.
And not even like घोड़ों की तरह, like he's not even limping or anything. He's like he's running straight.
I don't know. Did you not see that bit in Fallout where he breaks his ankle and limps off camera?
Oh yeah, that is amazing. That is amazing though. That feels like dedicating himself for the cause at this point. But no, I think Dead Reckoning again, the Brian De Palma knockoff, basically. But at least that's what McQuarrie was trying to do. Itna Dutch angle kaun deta hai? But I do think that espionage element actually worked for me. There are some sequences like that Venice ka chase sequence.
Wait, what is the espionage element that you're trying to talk about here?
The entire thing about
with Haley Atwell, no?
No, not even that Haley Atwell section. The fact that the third act where so much of the discussion and everything is happening regarding where is the cruciform key, which room,
a bunch of almost murders on the Orient Express.
Orient Express, basically, yeah, kind of. Yeah, this could have worked in a vacuum also, and it's a very weird thing because it works for me in some respect, but on the background I'm like, Tom Cruise का बाइक अभी भी नहीं पहुंचा उस सीन में. कर क्या रहा है? On the background that thing is still running in my head. Yeah, कि कहाँ है वो? इतना देर तो कोई नहीं करता है, कहाँ है? But yeah,
even he was कहाँ हूँ मैं?
Basically, yes. But no, I also like that Venice sequence in which he's like trying to stop Ilsa, and then he's stopped in the alleyway, and then the camera is moving upwards trying to document that fight sequence. It reminded me of some of the Zatoichi movies ka fight sequence, because all of the Zatoichi movies third acts, most of them always happen like a top down shot in an
Okay.
alleyway or in a long corridor with a fight sequence where Shintaro Katsu would be fighting. I'm pretty sure Macquarie had seen a lot of the Zatoichi movies and wanted to replicate that. So that works in that regard. Again, Dead Reckoning, stunt work wise, it's way better than Final Reckoning, at least in many respects. That Rome sequence is great. Final Reckoning, the Spectre problem.
You've just also written a recap for it, right? So
Yeah, I had written a recap for him. I'm exhausted. I literally had to remind myself why there is a poison pill and there is a podkova. Agar poison pill
And
nahi
if you
hai-
didn't hear it the first time, they will tell you another 50 times.
yes, why there is a poison pill and a podkova.
Did you feel like I felt like they kept reminding us because they were like, "ये TikTok generation है, ये reels वाली generation है."
No,
इनको
no,
आज
it is
5
fair,
second में
but the effect of this is
सर सब गजनी थोड़ी बन के जा रहे हैं इधर सिनेमा हॉल के.
there are a lot of people need no you can make fun of this, but like a lot of people do need consistent reminding about, and honestly but what the
झापड़
opposite
मारो
effects
इन लोगों
happen.
को सब ठीक हो
Sir,
जाएगा.
ऐसे नहीं कर सकते. Anyways,
No,
my
but
point,
I think there is an issue here. ठीक है कि I genuinely believe that this is a movie, at least Dead Reckoning Part 1. The original film had Final Reckoning का final set piece, उसका थोड़ा पीछे का थोड़ा sequence, and all of that flowed into as a one consistent 3.5 hour long film, max to max. I think what happened कि after Dead Reckoning, टॉम क्रूज के दिमाग में एक और स्टंट सीक्वेंस आया. ही थॉट ठीक है वो घुसाते हैं, फिर उसके हिसाब से हम लोग स्टोरी लिखेंगे. दैट हैपेंड, द स्ट्राइक्स हैपेंड, a lot of shit happened. The writing, anytime any movie you see after a strike, after a COVID break, or any sort of real world scenario happens, movies which come out immediately after that, or movies in production immediately during those events, all of those movies have major issues.
Quantum of Solace.
Yes, Quantum of Solace. This though feels very much like Quantum of Solace or a Spectre. If you are associating it with Bond, Spectre to definitely. Spectre made the clumsy way in which they had to explain कि हाँ Quantum is actually a part of Spectre.
I mean, it's like देखो सर आप समझ नहीं रहे हो, आजकल टेरर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कॉर्पोरेट हो गए हैं. They also have subsidiary wings.
Subsidiary होते हैं. I am like, but that
You're not
that is actually true.
the...
But Varun, that is also actually true.
Yeah, like Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Resistance Front.
Yes, exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Yeah, so I can
Fuck you
understand
to both of them.
Yeah, I can understand the reality of the situation. Doesn't change the fact that the storytelling is clumsy as fuck, which is exactly what was happening here. And I don't think it helped. There are only 2 major action set pieces in Final Reckoning, which is why the movie lagged a shit ton. Especially that first hour,
but
because
like,
editing is sloppy as hell.
Even Dead Reckoning has like 2 major set pieces.
Not really, man. I think they are spread out much more in that.
I mean,
whatever I remember.
I see the jump on the bike because it's like a literally a 10-second thing.
See, देखो,
and him riding a bike is not as good as it was in either Rogue Nation or Fallout. Right? He's doing that mountain bike, whatever.
देखो, उस हिसाब से एक सेकंड, उस हिसाब से फ्रेंच कनेक्शन में there is only one set piece. उस हिसाब से, which is the
French Connection में जीन हैकमैन लीड एक्टर है. आप क्या बात कर रहे
हैं? एक सेकंड, बात तो सुनो मेरी. फ्रेंच कनेक्शन में by your description there is only one sequence, and that is that car chase sequence which Dhruv and I both admire to the hilt. That shit is amazing. But I think we both also count that foot chase sequence in which basically Charnier escapes to the subway.
It's like back and forth, like when he's going into the subway train, not going into it.
Exactly. So I think if I associate that movie with thoda bahut Dead Reckoning ka first thing sequence, I can count that airport sequence as one extended overall scene.
I'm just saying that it's not as fun even in terms of
it is,
except for the Rome sequence, which is really very memorable. But again, it doesn't know whether it wants to play the lightness of the car or
I think it's a
the
comedy sequence, no?
to me it is, and then Pom Clementive's character Paris shows
Yeah,
up.
the way she's acting in that sequence is comedic. Like
No,
maniacally
she's
comedic or
comedic.
whatever.
Yeah, but when they're in the sedan also for a bit, and then Briggs shows up, and I'm like, dude, like, don't
like, Briggs
fuck
is
the
also funny.
sequence up.
Briggs
Yeah,
is
Briggs
also
is funny, and then in Final Reckoning, he's like,
Oh
"Acha, main
God.
na."
अच्छा मैं ये हूँ I'm like okay I get it but क्यों
I'm like, एक दूसरे को ना
Because
सही मुझे तो
for
गोली मारो.
that last moment where wo the turn of the twist
the
essentially
twist would have been Ethan Hunt सब कुछ survive कर दिया last second में Briggs आके गोली मार देता है that would have been the twist
हाँ sir यहाँ पे तो art house picture
that would
बना
be
रहे
a
हैं ना
that would be a Tarantino Mission Impossible movie.
Tarantino इतना subversive नहीं है but sure okay
So my issue is like I think
who made the passenger एक second I am forgetting
Antonioni
that this would have been Antonioni's Mission Impossible last में गोली मार दो
without the submarine and without the plane chairs essentially
so to me, because I prefer the sort of, aside from the Rome sequence, I prefer the action work in the Final Reckoning. I just enjoy planes and stuff like that. I just went for an
okay
air
you
show
like the
and stuff.
final scene not
Yeah.
the one
And even the submarine, I think is
I was surprised. I was
love the
very
submarine
surprised by
sequence.
how long he actually went dialogue-less in that sequence. I was like, wow,
think
that's like
I'll give
without
you some
intercutting.
context.
But
I'll
you
give
know,
you
to
some
me,
context here. I'll give you some context here. The fact is that underwater sequences are usually extremely boring. Case in point, Thunderball. किसी ने अगर Thunderball देखा हो
oh
सो जाओगे
fuck, that's so
सो
long.
जाओगे
It's such
that
a
shit is
boring
so long
sequence.
ठीक है
Fuck no.
yeah
Why everyone loves Way of Water, Avatar.
there are shit ton of underwater action
वो
sequences that
पानी
are
था या
always
नहीं
boring
था लेकिन
yeah that's a question
पानी, पूरा पानी.
हाँ पीछे कोई
पूरा पानी।
यारिया का गाना चला दो पीछे
आज ब्लू है पानी 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 और तुम भी सानी 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 सानी
अभी आ रही है ना एक और अंडरवाटर डॉक्यूमेंट्री फ्रॉम नेटफ्लिक्स टाइटन द सबमर्सिबल
हाँ वही ना no but again all these underwater sequences are usually if they're not CGI enhanced they're usually very boring I have to applaud him
Sure.
he made this interesting
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not denying any of that. I think, in fact, that the submarine sequence is great. To me, it's not very thrilling, sure, because my benchmark is Rogue Nation, the 6-minute hold your breath, get in there, do all that.
amazing
right?
stuff yeah
Great
amazing stuff yeah
My problem with these films is that there's just, first of all, there's too much cutting between an action sequence and a dramatic sequence with a bit of comedy and a bit of peril. I'm like, first,
You want
balance something.
uniformity as opposed to.
I don't want uniformity. I'm like, if you're at least
You want
cutting from
consistency.
action to drama, I want you to cut that bit properly.
Yeah.
Right? The sudden volte-face of Isai Morales' character in the last 30 seconds of his screen time, he goes unhinged. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Secondly, the villain, there's no consistency. I think the two are actually one film. I would prefer to think of them in those terms.
it is
I think Dead Reckoning is abysmally boring because
Dead
that
Reckoning or
nightclub-
Final Reckoning?
Dead Reckoning.
Dead
I will
Reckoning.
get to the Final Reckoning as well.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, why are you discussing so much in this nightclub?
Yeah.
It's like one of the
मुझे
weirdest
याद ही
places
नहीं है
to...
क्या होता है वहाँ पे
Exactly,
Brandon
right?
Hills.
It
It's
also
such a...
looks
Oh no,
very
that
ugly.
I
It's a
remember
very
liking
ugly
that
looking
sequence
sequence.
actually. Sorry,
No,
so yeah,
I'm like-
that's the only reason I want to watch it again because you told me that it's very like wonkily edited. I was like, I remember that being one
I
of the
think it's
sequences I
just...
liked,
It's
but
too
anyways.
long. I think the whole
Sure.
Venice chapter... You are like... Ilsa is the most skilled fighter of these guys. He's probably a better fighter than Ethan. And this Kalka Londa, Gabriel kills her. इसका
so
कोई
I
हमें
think
को
the issue
context
so I
नहीं
think
है. We
I
don't
think
know
the
anything
issue
about
is
the guy.
I think the issue is Gabriel is an abysmally written character
I mean, that is there too, right? Like,
Yeah, he's an
him
abysmal-
and Mariela Garcia, who gets billing in Dead Reckoning, is not there in the Final Reckoning.
yeah and the
I'm like,
problem
you have
he's
to have
Christoph
something
he's
going
Christoph
on.
Waltz of Spectre it is me James I was the one responsible
Poor
I'm like,
Christoph
"चूतिया
Waltz
चुप हो
in
जा."
that movie.
तब से उसका
Yeah.
good time खत्म, bad time शुरू है.
Yeah.
Like as an actor, he's just doing like he's playing Billy Wilder though in a film which I'm looking forward to. That should be fun. But
Final
I mean,
thoughts,
just
guys.
yeah, I just want to
Final
wrap this up.
thoughts.
I just think these films, both of them, have just a very basic thing of structure. They're badly structured. This whole thing of writing
Which
on
is
the
a
fly,
which,
you know,
which
you
is a
don't
thing.
criticize it. You don't criticize it until it goes really badly
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. Which
And
is a
it goes really badly wrong in both
which
these
is a
movies.
thing because Macquarie is the one who is praised because he apparently knows screenplay structure really well. As a
Hmm.
guy who is supposedly good at this shit,
I mean, he did work on The Mummy also, which is a disaster of a movie. So,
yes.
Yeah,
he
he's done
can
a
make
fair few
mistakes.
bad films, so it's not like he's not
Well,
done a bad
no,
movie
I
ever
don't want to
also.
say that he was the sole writer on The Mummy. He
No,
did
but
some
like whatever.
rewrites for
The
Tom
Mummy
Cruise.
was written by Alex Kurtzman. You are already starting off with shit.
So
Yeah, I was
it's
about to say this is nemesis of essentially old school Star Trek fans, right?
Yes.
so it's also the thing of you're not you're yourself so committed to the seriousness of the bit, and you think that is the way forward but you don't understand the nuances of AI. I don't either, by the way. I'm not
I
claiming to
actually
be an
think the
artificial
entity, the
intelligence.
concept I really like. And I think
Yeah,
that's the
but I
only
mean the
way
thing
in
is that
which Ethan,
because
I
it's a
think I can
concept
buy
rather than a character.
as a savior.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
See, here's the
Yeah.
problem. Anything about the AI, whatever we are extrapolating that the AI will gain sentience and become like this, we actually have no idea what an AI gaining
Yeah,
sentience would
you're
look like.
called it's called a self-learning sort
Yeah.
of model for a reason, right? I think that it needs some level of I just think a character, a villain is what these films really
No,
lack.
okay, interesting.
Someone for Ethan to go up against, no matter
I
how
think
bad,
I
ill-thought
think
out
the
they are.
human personification of the entity being Gabriel would have been a smart choice. I think Isai Morales was miscast. I think Nicholas Holt was the originally cast for this.
Yeah,
I
but when
think
they cast Nicholas Holt, there was no sense
there
of
was
what
no
will the character
no
be.
entity.
yeah.
Again, this whole idea of
Yeah.
writing the character after you have done everything else around the film. Your
Yeah.
sets are ready. तुमने costume भी बना लिया होगा शायद. Then you're like, अरे निक ओफरमैन का costume होल्ट में कैलनी को क्यों अजीब लग रहा है? Because अजीब लगेगा, दो अलग-अलग बंदे हैं ना. It's so that whole fucking National Security Council. I'm like,
That's
क्या
bad.
जरूरत है इन चूतियों की?
That's very bad.
I
That
don't
to me
care.
is,
I just
if there
realized,
is
I just realized if Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning works as a complete movie, ठीक है?
Hmm.
If Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning actually existed as a single
Hmm.
movie, that entire cabinet का sequence would have been limited to one montage shot.
Hmm.
जब Ethan is flying around in the sky and then falling. When he's falling, he's trying to enter, and then the screen is cutting to the bunker sequence, and then the screen will cut to Sloan ka cabinet, where we will see for the first time those people.
Yeah.
One sequence,
No,
one shot.
what's
That's
the
it.
whole showboating
You know
thing
what
of
this is?
you are sending him to the to the brig and lock him up and throw the key away and this that and the
This
other.
is-
And then
this-
Holt is like,
this is
you gave him an
essentially-
aircraft carrier.
This is essentially I don't know if you've seen the Sidney Lumet fail. This is fail safe
This
or
is fail safe
Doctor
just
Strange
for
के
dummies.
बीच में
This is fail safe for
tone
dummies.
फंसी हुई है इसकी. And I'm
Yes,
just
yes.
like, I cannot for a second buy this stuff seriously, even though it feels like you want me to buy it.
Yeah,
The performances
don't
are
make
bit
a drama.
Holt
stretched and odd angles.
McElhenney is in the Doctor Strangelove version of the scene. Angela
General
Bassett is in the
Turgidson.
fail-safe. Angela Bassett
Yeah.
is in the fail-safe version of the scene.
Yeah.
No, it's like even but Dead Reckoning also has a very similar sequence which
Sure,
I
yes,
it gave me a headache for some
Oh
reason.
God,
like,
they were completing
give-
each other's sentences. I'm like, what are you, a quintuple or like a polytuple or whatever? Like,
it's a polycule.
They are
essentially
they are
it's
no, they are
basically a
minority-
mental orgy.
They are minority report का वो तीन जो लड़कियां थी जो देख सकती थी फ्यूचर.
तीन लड़कियां नहीं सर, दो बंदे और एक लड़की.
दो बंदे और एक लड़की, ठीक है.
Agatha, Dashiell, and Raymond. I think that those were their names because of the mystery characters.
Sir, आपने
Why
अभी
are
अभी
they
देखी है ना?
why are they named after three mystery writers? Agatha,
Because that was Philip Dick's whole homage to them.
Anyways, any other thoughts on MI7 and 8 from Varun and Amartya, who will be sorely missed tomorrow, especially the former?
Throw me off the aircraft before you make me watch these movies again.
Wow,
I
that
mean-
much contempt.
I mean, I
I'm
don't
just really annoyed when a film sort of annoys me is more than when I dislike a film. I'm like, don't do this short changing nonsense of I am
mean-
better than an action movie. You're an action movie. Be comfortable in that skin.
I'm not as contemptuous as Varun is regarding
Oscar
these
नहीं
two
मिलेगा
movies.
तो मत try करो
हाँ,
ना.
Oscar नहीं मिलेगा. That is true. I'm not
क्यों
as
try कर रहे हो?
contemptuous. I'm not as contemptuous as Varun is. But again, these two movies are not the best that Mission Impossible has to offer. But then again, we shouldn't
That's
forget.
called Rogue Nation.
But then again, this is the franchisee that also has Mission Impossible 3 and Mission Impossible 2, and I like Mission Impossible 2. So you get the idea. It's like this is definitely not the
Listen, yeah,
weakest
yeah,
of
of
the
course. I mean,
There is
as
definitely
far
no
as
personal
franchises
agenda as
go,
to why Amartya doesn't like 3. No personal agenda at all.
Yes, of course not.
Step outside. Ethan, give me 5 minutes with this guy. Ethan, I can't let you do that. That's not who we are. Maybe we need to reconsider that.
Okay. So, thank you so much for listening to our episode about Mission Impossible 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 7 and 8 exclusively talked about by Mr. Varun and Mr. Amartya. Thank you
Dr.
so
Amartya.
much. Sorry, Dr. Amartya. I apologize. I apologize for every time I say a wrong thing, which basically means I apologize all the time. So, just to mention that so that no one comes at me for this, like Tom Cruise fans, but we have one of them and he's not wanted to murder me as of yet. So,
He's also
anyways,
just running. That's why it's taking so long. Delhi to Dubai.
okay. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to or sticking with us, even though we offer no such, evidence
Blue
of
is glue, red is dead, guys.
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
yes, whatever this means. And
It's a line from Ghost
uh,
Protocol, your favorite movie.
okay, I apologize. I did try, but I failed. Mission Impossible, indeed, to moderate and edit, which I apologize to Chris for. So yes, thank you, and we will see
He
you for
says that
7 and
while
8.
smiling the
खत्म.
widest smile ever.
इसकी बारे में
Again,
बात कर रहे हो?
again to paraphrase Anthony Hopkins, this is a mission difficult, Dhruv. This is mission impossible. Difficult
मैं
should have
नहीं
been a
कर रहा
walk in the
edit, sir.
park for you.
I am editing the episode in which Varun is not present. You will
If I
see
if
how much of a
I
lark
if
in the
I become
that
a
is.
ghost after in the next like 3 days, you will know that this episode is the reason why that happened.
On that note, yes.
You're free now. Where will you go?
I don't know. I've done my part.
Ethan, we gotta go.
You better hurry now.
Good luck.